Part 1. The Lantern Keeper's Garden. Restful Tales, a bedtime story series. In a valley forgotten by the hurried world, where mist clings to ancient stone walls and time moves with the unhurried pace of honey dripping from a wooden spoon, there exists a garden unlike any other. This is the domain of Aldrich, the keeper of lanterns, whose gentle hands have tended the same pathways for more years than the oldest oak can remember. The garden exists in that magical hour between day and night, when the sky wears robes of deep purple and gold, and the first stars begin their quiet vigil above the earth. The entrance to Aldrich's garden is marked by a weathered archway of limestone, green with moss, and carved with symbols that seem to shift and change in the corner of one's eye. Climbing roses have woven themselves through the stone over decades, their petals the color of twilight itself, deep purple with edges of silver that catch what little light remains of the day. As evening approaches, these roses emit the faintest luminescence, as if they have spent the daylight hours gathering starshine within their hearts. Beyond the archway, gravel paths wind to the garden like ribbons of crushed pearl, each stone chosen for the soft sound it makes beneath careful footsteps. The paths are neither straight nor hurried. They curve and meander with the gentle patience of a stream finding its way to the sea. Ancient flagstones, worn smooth by countless evening walks, are set at intervals like stepping stones across a river of time, each one warm to the touch from generations of the keeper's faithful rounds. On either side of these paths, the garden reveals its true wonder. Here grow plants that exist nowhere else in the world, cultivated by Aldrich and his predecessors through centuries of devoted care. The luminescent moss carpets the ground like a living tapestry, its pale green glow providing just enough light to guide one's steps without disturbing the garden's essential darkness. This moss has learned to pulse gently, like a sleeping creature's breath, creating subtle waves of light that seem to encourage the soul toward rest. The trees in Aldrich's garden are ancient beyond measure, their trunks twisted and gnarled in ways that speak of great age and deeper wisdom. These are not ordinary trees, but dream oaks and slumber willows, their bark inscribed with natural patterns that seem to form symbols of peace and contentment. The dream oaks bear leaves that shimmer with an inner light, each one containing what the keeper calls captured moments of perfect rest, the essence of every peaceful sleep that has ever occurred beneath their branches. When the evening breeze stirs these leaves, they create a sound like the softest wind chimes, a melody that seems to harmonize with the rhythm of a resting heart. The slumber willows are perhaps even more remarkable, their drooping branches forming natural alcoves and sheltered spaces throughout the garden. Their leaves are silver green, they move with a hypnotic rhythm even when there is no breeze, swaying back and forth in patterns that naturally guide the eye toward a meditative focus. Beneath these willows, the keeper has placed curved stone benches, their surfaces worn smooth and warm from decades of providing comfort to those who have found their way to the sanctuary. But it is the lanterns that truly transform Aldrich's garden into something beyond the realm of ordinary experience. These are not mere torches or candles, but vessels of captured starlight and distilled moonbeams, each one a work of art created by the keeper's patient hands. The lantern posts are carved from a wood that no longer grows anywhere else in the world, a species of tree that once existed at the very beginning of things, when the boundary between dream and waking was not yet fixed. The wood has a grain that seems to move and flow like liquid, and it never rots or weathers, remaining as perfect as the day it was shaped. Each lantern is unique, blown from glass as it infused with materials both precious and mysterious. Some contain sand from shores where no waves have ever crashed. Others hold crystallized tears of joy shed by those who have found perfect peace. The most special lanterns are made with glass that incorporates powdered starlight, gathered by the keeper during nights when the stars shine so brightly they seem to touch the earth. These lanterns cast a light that is neither warm nor cool, but something altogether different, an illumination that seems to touch the soul directly, bypassing the eyes entirely. As evening deepens, Aldrich begins a sacred ritual. He is a man of indeterminate age, his hair silver white like moonlight on water, his hands weathered but sure from decades of gentle labor. He wears robes of deep blue wool, simple and unadorned except for small silver clasps shaped like sleeping crescents. His movements are slow and deliberate, each gesture carrying the weight of countless repetitions, performed with the meditation of perfect mindfulness. The keeper carries with him a staff carved from a heartwood of the first dream oak, its surface smooth from years of use. At the top of the staff burns a flame that never goes out, the master light, kindled long ago from the first star that ever shone in the darkness. This flame possesses a remarkable property of being able to kindle other lights without diminishing itself, and from it, Aldrich lights each lantern in his garden with the care of one performing a sacred ceremony. He begins always at the same place, the Fountain of Gentle Dreams, located at the garden's heart. The fountain is carved from a single piece of moonstone, its surface alive with internal light that shifts and dances like aurora frozen in stone. Water flows from it not in rushing streams, but in gentle drops that seem to hang in the air before falling, each one catching the light of the surrounding lanterns and casting tiny rainbows onto the luminescent moss below. In this fountain swim fish unlike any found in ordinary waters, creatures of silver and gold that move with the fluid grace of living light, their scales catching and reflecting the lantern glow until they seem less like fish than like swimming stars. Here stands the first and most beautiful of all the lanterns, crafted from glass, so clear it seems made of crystallized air. Within this lantern burns a light that shifts color with the phases of the moon and the changing seasons, sometimes silver, sometimes gold, sometimes the deep purple of twilight skies. As Aldrich touches the staff to this lantern, it awakens with a gentle chime, like the sound of distant temple bells carried on a night breeze. From the central point, the keeper begins his evening journey, following paths that spiral outward like the arms of a galaxy. Each lantern he encounters is a unique treasure, and each requires its own special attention. There are lanterns shaped like flowers that bloom only in his light, opening their glass petals to release fragrances that carry the essence of peaceful sleep. Others are formed like birds with wings spread wide, their light filtering through feathered glass patterns that cast shadows shaped like soaring doves on the path below. Some of the most remarkable lanterns are those the keeper calls memory vessels, lanterns that contain not just light, but moments of perfect tranquility captured from throughout the world. One might hold the last rays of sunshine from a perfect summer afternoon, another the reflected moonlight from a still mountain lake. There is a lantern that contains the gentle light of a candle that once burned in a cottage where a mother sang lullabies to her children, and another that holds the warm glow of a fireplace around which friends gather to share stories of wonder and joy. As Aldrich lights each lantern, the garden transforms around him. The illumination doesn't banish darkness, but rather partners with it, creating a twilight realm where shadows are soft and welcoming rather than threatening. The light reveals details that will be invisible in ordinary darkness. Spider webs strung with dewdrops like necklaces of diamonds, night-blooming flowers that open their faces to the lantern glow, and the subtle patterns formed by generations of careful tending in every corner of the garden. The keeper's progress is unhurried and meditative. Between each lantern, he pauses to tend the plants that grow in pools of gentle light. Here are the dream roses, their thorns long ago transformed into soft down that catches the evening dew and releases it in gentle mists that carry the fragrance of peaceful sleep. Their blooms are the color of deep rest, purples and blues so dark they seem to hold the essence of midnight itself, yet shot through with silver veins that gleam like starlight. There are herbs here that grow nowhere else. Slumber mint that releases its fragrance only when touched by lantern light, releasing a scent that immediately calms racing thoughts and slows hurried breathing. Rest easy lavender whose purple spikes seem to hum with an inaudible music that harmonizes with the rhythm of a peaceful heart, and memory moss that grows in soft cushions along the path, its surface so inviting that one cannot help but imagine lying down upon it and drifting into the most restful sleep imaginable. The keeper tends each plant with the attention of one caring for beloved children. He brushes dew from the dream rose's downy thorns, trims dead leaves from the slumber herbs with silver shears that make no sound, and waters the memory moss with water from the fountain, using a watering can made from hammered moon silver that chimes softly with each gentle shower. As the evening deepens and more lanterns come alive under Aldrich's careful attention, the garden begins to reveal its most magical property. It becomes a beacon for those who need rest most desperately. The light of the lanterns doesn't remain contained within the garden's walls, but somehow reaches across vast distances to touch the minds of insomniacs lying awake in distant cities, travelers lost in dark forests, children afraid of shadows in their bedrooms, and anyone whose spirit cries out for peace and restoration. These troubled souls might find themselves dreaming of the garden, walking its luminescent paths in the realm between sleeping and waking. They experience the gentle crunch of pearl gravel beneath their feet, inhale the soothing fragrances of the dream roses and slumber herbs, and feel their anxieties dissolve like morning mist in the presence of such perfect tranquility. Some visitors to the dream garden remember their experiences clearly upon waking, carry with them a sense of profound restoration. Others retain only a vague impression of silver light and gentle sounds, but find themselves mysteriously refreshed and able to face their daily challenges with renewed strength. The keeper knows of these visitors, though he rarely sees them directly. Sometimes he finds evidence of their presence. Footprints in the luminescent moss that weren't there before, flowers that have been gently touched by grateful hands, or a sense that one of his benches still holds the warmth of someone who sat there in peaceful contemplation. These signs bring Aldrich great joy, for he understands that his life's work extends far beyond the physical boundaries of his garden. As the night reaches its deepest point, the keeper completes his circuit by returning to the fountain of gentle dreams. Here he performs the evening's final ritual. He dips a crystal ladle into the fountain's magical waters and adds a single drop to each of the lanterns he has lit. This water, infused with the essence of perfect rest, causes each lantern's light to deepen and stabilize, ensuring that their glow will last until dawn brings a natural end to their vigil. With his work complete, Aldrich settles onto his favorite bench beneath the largest of the slumber willows. This ancient tree has grown to enormous size over the centuries, its drooping branches forming a natural canopy that creates an intimate space within the larger garden. Here the keeper keeps a small table carved from the same wood as his staff, upon which sits a simple ceramic mug and a pot of tea brewed from herbs that grow only in his garden. The keeper's evening tea is a blend of his own creation. Chamomile flowers that have absorbed starlight for decades, mint leaves that carry the essence of peaceful dreams, and honey made by bees that gather nectar from flowers that bloom only at midnight. As he sips this gentle brew, Aldrich reflects on the day's work and watches his lanterns painting the garden in patterns of silver and gold. The sound of the fountain provides a gentle counterpoint to the keeper's peaceful thoughts, its musical droplets creating rhythms that seem designed to slow the heartbeat and deepen the breath. The luminescent fish continue their lazy circles, their movements hypnotic and soothing. Occasionally, one of the garden's many nocturnal visitors appears. An owl whose feathers shimmer with their own inner light, a fox who carries the silver sheen of moonbeams, or a family of rabbits whose eyes reflect the lantern glow like gentle stars. These creatures have learned over generations that the keeper's garden is a sanctuary where no harm can come to any living thing. They move through the illuminated spaces with perfect trust, sometimes approaching Aldrich's bench to accept gentle strokes from his weathered hands. The animals, like the plants, seem to carry some of the garden's peaceful essence within themselves, and their presence adds another layer of tranquility to this remarkable place. As the hours pass and the night reaches toward dawn, the keeper remains in quiet contemplation beneath his willow. He knows that somewhere in the world, his light is touching souls that need its gentle healing. Children are sleeping more peacefully because of the dream rose's influence. Adults are finding rest after long days because the slumber herb's fragrance reaches them in their sleep, and travelers are guided safely through dark places by the distant glow of his lanterns. This knowledge fills Aldrich with deep satisfaction. His life's work is not measured in gold or fame, but in the accumulation of peaceful moments, restful nights, and souls restored to tranquility. Each evening's ritual adds to this invisible treasury of comfort, building a legacy of gentle service that will endure long after his own time as keeper has ended. When at last the eastern sky begins to show the first pale hints of approaching dawn, Aldrich rises from his bench with the slow deliberation of one whose movements are guided by decades of sacred routine. The lanterns, sensing the approaching day, begin to dim their light gradually, their glow fading not abruptly but like a gentle exhalation. As the natural light of dawn spreads across the garden, the magical elements of the night quietly withdraw, waiting patiently for the next evening's awakening. But even in daylight, the garden retains its essential character of peace and restoration. The paths remain welcoming. The plants continue their gentle growth, and the fountain still sings its quiet song. Visitors who discover the garden during daylight hours find it beautiful in a different way, less magical, perhaps, but no less healing. The keeper spends his daylight hours in different labors, tending to plants that require sunlight, repairing and cleaning his precious lanterns, and sometimes crafting new vessels to hold the light of future evenings. As the sun sets once again, the eternal cycle begins anew. Aldrich takes up his staff, checks the flame that never dies, and begins another evening's journey through his luminescent domain. Each night is both exactly the same and completely unique, a meditation on the themes of service, beauty, and the profound human need for peace and restoration. In the Lantern Keeper's garden, every evening is a prayer made manifest in light and fragrance. Every glowing path of promise that rest is possible even in a world too often filled with haste and worry. And as long as Aldrich continues his faithful rounds, that promise will shine forth into the darkness, offering comfort to all who need the gentle healing that only perfect peace can provide. Part 2. The Tea Shop at the Edge of Autumn. Restful Tales, a bedtime story series. At the very edge of the village of Millbrook, where the cobblestone streets give way to winding country lanes and the last cottage gardens merge with wild meadows touched by eternal autumn, stands a tea shop that exists in a perpetual state of golden afternoon. The shop bears no grand sign, only a simple wooden plaque carved with the image of a steaming cup surrounded by falling leaves. But those who need a particular form of comfort always seem to find their way to its amber-lit windows and welcoming door. The proprietor of this extraordinary establishment is Meredith Ashworth, a woman of indeterminate middle years whose silver-streaked hair is always arranged in a neat bun secured with pins carved from polished oak. Her eyes are the deep brown of freshly turned earth, warm and knowing, and she possesses a rare gift of seeing not who people pretend to be, but who they truly are beneath the layers of daily worry and accumulated fatigue. More remarkable still is her ability to know, without being told, exactly what blend of tea will best serve each visitor's deepest needs. The tea shop itself seems to have grown rather than been built, its walls of honey-colored stone fitted together so perfectly that no mortar shows between them. The roof is thatched with golden straw that never fades or rots, and climbing roses of amber and rust colors frame the windows in permanent bloom. Inside, the space is larger than it appears from the street, with low-beamed ceilings painted the color of clotted cream and floors of wide oak planks worn smooth by generations of feet seeking comfort and restoration. The heart of the shop is dominated by an enormous hearth built from the same golden stone as the walls, within which a fire burns with flames that cast no harsh shadows, only a gentle, honeyed light that seems to emanate peace itself. The mantelpiece above the hearth is carved with an intricate pattern of intertwining vines and leaves, and upon it rests a collection of ceramic vessels in shades of amber, sage, and deep burgundy, each one holding a different blend of Meredith's carefully crafted teas. The walls of the shop are lined from floor to ceiling with shelves that seem to have grown from the living wood of some ancient tree, their surfaces curved and organic rather than machine straight. These shelves hold hundreds of glass jars, each one labeled in Meredith's careful script and containing teas from every corner of the world and several places that exist only in legend. There are jars filled with leaves the color of sunset, others containing flowers that seem to glow with their own inner light, and some holding mysterious ingredients that shift and change when viewed from different angles. Each jar tells a story through its contents and its carefully written label. Here is Meadow Dreams, a blend of chamomile flowers gathered from fields where sheep graze peacefully under endless summer skies, combined with lemon balm that has absorbed the contentment of countless lazy afternoons. Next to it sits Winter's Rest, containing leaves from evergreen trees that have weathered 100 storms and emerged stronger, mixed with dried berries that taste of snow-muffled silence and the deep peace of hibernating creatures. The collection includes teas with names like Grandmother's Embrace, made from herbs that once grew in cottage gardens tended by women whose hands knew the secrets of healing and comfort, Scholar's Respite, a blend designed to ease minds tired from too much thinking and restore the simple joy of wonder, and Traveler's Return, created for those whose hearts are weary from long journeys and need the comfort of feeling truly welcome home. In one corner of the shop stands Meredith's greatest treasure, an antique tea cabinet made from what's so old it is taken on the deep purple-brown color of twilight. This cabinet contains her most precious blends, teas that cannot be bought but only received as gifts when the need is great enough. These are remedies for ailments of the soul, sorrow's balm for those grieving losses too deep for ordinary comfort, courage in a cup for hearts that have forgotten their own strength, and tomorrow's promise for those who have lost faith in the possibility of better days ahead. The brewing equipment in Meredith's shop is as remarkable as her collection of teas. Her teapots are works of art, each one shaped by master ceramists who understood that the vessel can influence the essence of what it contains. Some pots are glazed in colors that shift like autumn leaves. Others bear hand-painted designs of garden scenes, so detailed they seem to move in the flickering firelight. The most special pot of all is one that appears to be carved from a single piece of translucent amber, within which tiny flowers seem to float like memories preserved in crystallized time. The shop's furniture consists of mismatched but harmonious pieces, each one chosen for its ability to provide both physical and spiritual comfort. There are wingback chairs upholstered in fabric the color of forest moss, their arms worn smooth by countless hands seeking stability in times of uncertainty. Small round tables are scattered throughout the space, each one accompanied by chairs that seem to have been designed for their specific location, creating intimate conversation nooks that invite confidential sharing and quiet contemplation. The lighting in the shop comes not from harsh electric bulbs, but from oil lamps with chimneys of amber glass, their flames burning with the same steady, gentle quality as the fire in the hearth. These lamps cast pools of golden light that seem to wrap around visitors like warm blankets, creating an atmosphere that naturally slows hurried thoughts and encourages the kind of breathing that comes only in places of perfect safety. Every afternoon, as the church bells in the village chime 3 o'clock, the shop's regular patrons begin to arrive, drawn by rhythms older than conscious memory. First comes Thomas Hartwell, the elderly proprietor of the village bookshop, whose shoulders carry the weight of too much reading and too little rest. Meredith never asks what he needs. She simply appears at his favorite table by the window with a cup of contemplation blend, a tea that tastes of old paper and leather bindings, of quiet libraries and the satisfaction that comes from wisdom slowly gained. Thomas always sits in the same wingback chair, positioned so he can watch the street through windows that frame the eternal autumn like living paintings. The tea Meredith brings him steams with an aroma that seems to organize scattered thoughts and transform mental fatigue into peaceful reflection. As he sips, his shoulders gradually lower, and the tension lines around his eyes soften into the expression of a man remembering why he chose to spend his life surrounded by books and the stories they contain. Shortly after Thomas settles into his afternoon ritual, Sarah McKenna arrives from her seamstress shop 3 doors down the street. Sarah's hands are a livelihood, and they tell the story of decades spent in precise, repetitive motions that have left her fingers stiff and her wrists aching. She never needs to ask for her usual. Meredith appears at her elbow with steady hands, a blend that tastes of lavender and rosemary, with undertones of something that might be morning dew on garden herbs. Sarah always chooses a seat near the fire, where she can hold her teacup in both hands and let its warmth seep into her tired joints. The tea works its gentle magic quickly, relaxing cramped muscles and restoring the fluid grace to her movements that allows her to create beauty from simple cloth. As she drinks, Sarah often flexes her fingers experimentally, smiling as she rediscovers their suppleness and strength. The third regular to arrive is Marcus Whitfield, a young man preparing for university entrance examinations who carries the particular tension of someone whose future depends on intellectual performance. Marcus tries to hide his anxiety behind casual conversation about the weather or village gossip, but Meredith sees through such pretenses with the kindness of someone who has witnessed thousands of human struggles and learned to respond with compassion rather than judgment. For Marcus, she prepares clear mind, a tea whose primary ingredient remains her secret, though it tastes of mint and something that might be captured morning air. The tea steam rises in patterns that seem to organize themselves into geometric shapes, and as Marcus breathes it in, the chaotic swirl of facts and formulas in his head begins to settle into orderly arrangements that make sense and inspire confidence rather than panic. Each visitor to Meredith's shop receives not just tea, but a kind of silent acknowledgement of their struggles and a gentle affirmation of their worth. She moves among her customers with the unhurried grace of someone who has learned that true service cannot be rushed, carrying not just beverages but small acts of care, an extra cushion for an aching back, a plate of honey cakes that appear without being ordered, or simply the gift of her presence when someone needs the comfort of not being alone with their troubles. The shop's atmosphere encourages a particular kind of conversation, intimate without being invasive, meaningful without being heavy. Strangers find themselves sharing stories they haven't told in years, while longtime friends discover new depths in familiar relationships. The tea seems to dissolve the barriers people normally maintain between their public selves and their private fears and hopes, creating a space where authenticity feels not just safe but necessary. Meredith herself rarely joins these conversations directly, preferring to listen from behind her counter as she continues the endless, meditative process of blending new teas or cleaning and organizing her precious jars. But her presence provides a foundation of stability and acceptance that allows others to drop their guards and speak their truths. Sometimes a single word from her, offered at just the right moment, can shift an entire conversation from complaint to gratitude, from despair to possibility. The shop's most remarkable feature becomes apparent as the afternoon progresses and the golden light outside the windows deepens into rich amber of late day. The light never actually fades at evening. Instead, it reaches a point of perfect luminous balance and remains there, as if time itself has chosen to pause in this one small corner of the world. Visitors sometimes realize they have been in the shop for hours without noticing the passage of time. Their usual schedules and appointments have gotten in favor of this timeless peace. This suspension of ordinary time allows for the kind of restoration that cannot be hurried. Tired minds have space to truly rest rather than simply pause between activities. Aching hearts find room to heal without the pressure of having to move on according to someone else's timetable. The shop becomes a refuge where the soul can catch up with the body, where the essential self can emerge from beneath the layers of roles and responsibilities that daily life requires. As the eternal afternoon continues, other visitors arrive in response to their own particular needs. There might be a mother overwhelmed by the demands of caring for young children, who finds herself holding a cup of patient love, a tea that tastes of sunshine and laughter and reminds her why she chose motherhood in the first place. Or perhaps a recently retired gentleman struggles with the loss of professional identity, and Meredith appears with new beginnings, a blend that tastes of spring rain and fresh earth and the promise that life holds more adventures than any single career can contain. The shop serves not just individuals but relationships, providing a neutral ground where difficult conversations become possible. Estranged friends find their way to adjacent tables and discover that the tea's gentle influence makes forgiveness easier than continued resentment. Parents and adult children work through years of misunderstanding, while sipping blends that taste of acceptance and unconditional love. The shop's atmosphere seems to remind everyone who enters that life is too short and too precious to waste on grudges and pride. Meredith's tea-making process is itself a form of meditation that visitors find soothing to watch. She moves with deliberate slowness, measuring each ingredient with the care of a jeweler weighing precious stones. The act of brewing becomes a ritual. The careful warming of the pot, the precise timing of the steeping, the moment of perfect readiness when the tea has absorbed exactly the right amount of heat in time to release its full potential. Each cup she serves is accompanied by its own small ceremony of presentation. The china is always perfectly matched to the tea, delicate porcelain painted with roses for the gentler blends, sturdy earthenware for the heartier mixtures, and her most precious cups, made from glass so thin it seems like crystallized air, reserved for the teas that heal the deepest wounds. The saucers never rattle, the spoons never clink harshly, and every movement in the service contributes to the shop's overall atmosphere of gentle refinement and care. The shop's influence extends beyond its physical boundaries, following visitors into their daily lives like a blessing that continues to unfold. Regular customers find themselves sleeping better, responding to stress with greater equanimity, and approaching their responsibilities with renewed energy and purpose. They carry within them not just a memory of good tea, but the deeper recollection of what it feels like to be seen, accepted, and cared for without judgment or condition. Some visitors return daily, making the shop a cornerstone of their routine and mental health. Others come only when their need is greatest, trusting that Meredith and her magical teas will be there whenever life becomes too overwhelming to handle alone. A few arrive only once, but that single visit provides them with everything they need to face their challenges with restored confidence and hope. As the perpetual afternoon deepens toward its richest golden hour, the shop takes on an even more magical quality. The amber light streaming through the windows seems to transform everything it touches into art. The steam rising from teacups creates ephemeral sculptures in the air. The patterns of light and shadow on the wooden tables become abstract paintings that shift and change with each movement, and the faces of the visitors glow with the soft radiance of people who have found exactly what they didn't know they were looking for. Meredith continues her quiet work, occasionally pause and gaze out at the eternal autumn landscape visible through her windows. The trees outside remain forever at the peak of their fall splendor, their leaves a tapestry of gold, amber, rust, and deep burgundy that never falls completely, never fades to brown, never surrenders to winter's bare branches. It is as if the entire world outside the shop has chosen to remain suspended in autumn's most beautiful moment, a reflection of the timeless peace that reigns within the shop's honey-colored walls. The tea shop exists as proof that some places in the world are designed not for productivity or profit, but purely for restoration of a human spirit. It stands as a reminder that comfort can be a form of wisdom, that slowing down can be a kind of courage, and that the simple act of sharing tea with understanding companions can heal wounds that more dramatic interventions cannot touch. In Meredith's tea shop at the edge of autumn, every cup holds not just perfectly brewed leaves, but the distilled essence of compassion, acceptance, and hope. Every visit offers not just refreshment, but renewal of faith in the possibility that the world still holds places where kindness reigns supreme, and every soul that enters is welcomed as if they were returning home after a long, difficult journey to find a home has been waiting patiently for their return. Part 3. The Cartographer of Peaceful Places. Restful Tales, a bedtime story series. High in the tower, what was once a lighthouse guiding ships to safe harbor, but now serves a different kind of navigation entirely, lives Elias Meridian, the last of the cartographers of peaceful places. His circular room, reached by climbing 97 worn stone steps that spiral upward like a prayer ascending to heaven, is filled with the soft golden light of dozens of candles and the gentle scratch of quill on parchment that has become the soundtrack to his decades-long devotion to mapping tranquility itself. The lighthouse stands on a promontory overlooking the whispering sea, whose waves have learned over centuries to break against the rocks below with the rhythm of deep, restful breathing. From his tower windows, Elias can see for miles in every direction. Rolling hills carpeted in wildflowers that bloom in perfect harmony, forests where the trees grow in natural spirals that guide the eye toward peaceful contemplation, and villages where the smoke from cottage chimneys rises in slow, lazy columns that speak of hearth fires and contentment. But Elias sees far more than the physical landscape spread before him. His trained eye perceives the invisible geography of peace itself. The way tranquility flows like underground streams through the world, surfacing in certain places to create pools of perfect calm, meandering through hidden valleys where stress cannot take root, and gathering in secret groves where the soul can find the rest it desperately seeks. His workshop is a wonder to behold, filled with instruments that exist nowhere else in the world. His drawing table, carved from a single piece of driftwood that spent decades being shaped by gentle waves, occupies the center of the room. The surface bears the accumulated marks of countless maps, faint impressions of peaceful places that have soaked into the wood itself until the table has become a repository of tranquility that can be felt by simply resting one's hands upon it. The tools of Elias's trade are as unique as his calling. His quills are not taken from ordinary birds, but are gifts from the dream swans that nest in the calming marshes, creatures so serene that their feathers naturally absorb and hold peace like sponge holds water. When dipped in his special ink, made from distilled morning mist, crushed pearls that have spent years listening to lullabies, and water from springs that bubble up through beds of sleeping herbs. These quills write with lines that seem to carry the essence of tranquility directly onto the parchment. His parchment itself is extraordinary, woven not from ordinary paper pulp, but from the silence that exists between raindrops, pressed into sheets so fine they seem to glow with their own inner light. When touched, this parchment feels warm and somehow alive, as if it remembers the peace from which it was born and yearns to hold new expressions of serenity within its embrace. The most remarkable of Elias's instruments is his compass of quietude, an ancient device passed down through generations of peaceful place cartographers. Unlike ordinary compasses that point toward magnetic north, this compass points toward the nearest location of perfect tranquility. Its needle is made from crystallized silence, and it moves not with the jerky motions of metal responding to magnetism, but with the slow, fluid grace of someone settling into deep meditation. The walls of the workshop are covered with Elias's completed maps, each one a masterpiece of both cartography and art. These are not the stark, utilitarian maps found in atlases and navigation manuals, but illuminated manuscripts that capture not just the physical features of peaceful places, but their emotional and spiritual geography as well. The borders of each map are decorated with intricate illustrations, sleeping animals curled in perfect contentment, trees whose branches form natural symbols of peace, and flowers that bloom in patterns that naturally slow the observer's heartbeat and deepen their breathing. One wall displays as maps of the gentle valleys, a series of hidden dells scattered throughout the world where the very air seems to shimmer with calm. These valleys exist in the spaces between more dramatic landscapes, easily overlooked by those seeking grand vistas or challenging terrain, but invaluable to souls seeking restoration. Elias has mapped each valley with loving detail, marking the locations of meditation stones worn smooth by centuries of peaceful visitors, springs whose water carries a taste of liquid serenity, and groves where the trees have learned to whisper only words of comfort and encouragement. Another section of the workshop is devoted to his ongoing masterwork, the complete atlas of the drowsing lands, a realm that exists in the liminal space between waking and sleeping, where geography follows the logic of dreams rather than physical laws. This is perhaps the most challenging territory for any cartographer to map, as the drowsing lands shift and change according to collective need for rest felt by the world's weary souls. In the drowsing lands, mountains are soft as pillows and valleys flow like honey. Rivers run not with water, but with liquid dreams. Their currents carry away the day's accumulated stress and anxiety. The whispering woods in this realm are filled with trees that speak only in lullabies, their leaves rustling with melodies that have been sung by mothers to their children since the beginning of time. The meadow of soft sighs stretches for miles, carpeted with grass that grows in natural patterns designed to guide the eye toward restful focus, while flowers bloom that exhale gentle fragrances capable of easing even the most troubled mind into peaceful slumber. Elias works on these maps with infinite patience, understanding that rushing would defeat the very purpose of his craft. Each line he draws is meditative. Each symbol he places deliberate and mindful. As he works, he often closes his eyes and allows his consciousness to travel the paths he's mapping, experiencing firsthand the peace they offer before committing their essence to parchment. His process begins each morning before dawn, when the world is at its most quiet and his mind can achieve the particular state of calm necessary for perceiving the invisible currents of tranquility. He begins by lighting a small brazier filled with dried herbs from the gardens of the serene monasteries, lavender that has absorbed decades of prayer, chamomile blessed by contemplative monks, and sage that has been used in ceremonies dedicated to peace and understanding. As the aromatic smoke fills his workshop, Elias performs a ritual of preparation that has been passed down through generations of his calling. He cleanses his hands in water from the spring of clear intentions, a source that bubbles up from deep within the earth where it has been filtered through layers of crystallized patience. He sharpens his quills with a blade made from meteoric iron that fell to earth during a night of perfect silence, and he arranges his parchment with the reverence of one handling sacred texts. Only then does he consult his compass of quietude, allowing its crystalline needle to guide his attention toward the peaceful places most in need of documentation. Sometimes the compass points toward locations he has never visited physically, but which call to him to the subtle networks of calm that connect all tranquil places. Other times it directs him toward familiar territories that have evolved new expressions of peace and require updated mapping. On this particular morning, as the first rays of sunlight slant through the tower windows and cast rainbow patterns on the workshop walls, the compass points toward a region Elias knows well, but has never successfully mapped completely. The Twilight Gardens, a series of interconnected spaces that exist primarily during the golden hour before sunset, when daylight softens into the gentle embrace of evening. The Twilight Gardens are among the most ephemeral of all peaceful places, manifesting fully only during those precious minutes when the sun hangs low in the western sky, and the world holds its breath in anticipation of rest. Yet in that brief window of time, they become some of the most profoundly restorative locations imaginable, offering weary souls a perfect balance of the day's energy and night's promise of restoration. Elias has attempted to map the Twilight Gardens many times over the years, but their transient nature makes them extraordinarily difficult to capture in permanent form. Each time he thinks he has successfully documented their pathways and landmarks, the gardens shift slightly, responding to the changing needs of those who seek their comfort. It is as if the gardens themselves are alive, growing and adapting to better serve their visitors. Today, however, something feels different. The compass needle points toward the gardens with unusual steadiness, and Elias senses that the time has finally come to complete this most challenging of cartographic projects. He prepares his finest parchment, selects his most sensitive quill, and settles into the profound concentration necessary for mapping places that exist as much in the realm of spirit as in physical space. As he begins to draw, Elias allows his consciousness to drift into the twilight gardens themselves. He experiences a sensation of walking on pathways carpeted with fallen petals that release gentle fragrances with each step, their surfaces soft as velvet and warm as sun-soaked stone. The air in the gardens carries the perfect temperature, neither warm nor cool, but precisely matched to the needs of each visitor's body and spirit. The gardens are filled with flora that exists nowhere else in the waking world. Evening primroses that open their blooms not just at dusk, but in response to the approach of anyone carrying the burden of a difficult day. Twilight jasmine, whose fragrance has the remarkable property of transforming anxiety into peaceful anticipation. And dream poppies whose nodding heads release seeds that float like tiny stars, each one carrying a fragment of perfect rest to whoever breathes them in. Throughout the gardens flow streams of liquid twilight, their surfaces reflecting not the sky above, but the most peaceful moments from each visitor's memory. Bridges arch over these streams, constructed from crystallized golden hour light that feels solid underfoot yet seems to glow from within. These bridges connect different areas of the garden, each one designed to facilitate a specific type of restoration. The bridge of release worries leads to groves where anxious thoughts dissolve like morning mist, while the bridge of remembered joy connects to meadows where visitors can reclaim happiness they thought they had lost forever. At the heart of the Twilight Garden stands a pavilion of perfect pause, a structure built from the same golden light as the bridges, but shaped into graceful columns and arches that frame views of surrounding beauty, without blocking the gentle breezes that carry the mingled fragrances of all the garden's peaceful blooms. In this pavilion, time moves differently, not stopped entirely, but slow to the pace of deep, restful breathing, allowing visitors to experience a kind of thorough restoration that normally requires hours of sleep. As Elias maps these wonders, his quill moves across the parchment with unusual fluidity, as if guided by the gardens themselves. The ink seems to glow faintly as it dries, and the lines he draws capture not just a physical layout of paths and landmarks, but something of their essential peaceful quality. Anyone looking at the completed sections of the map can feel their breathing slow and their shoulders relax, as if the parchment itself has absorbed some of the garden's restorative power. The work is demanding, requiring Elias to maintain perfect concentration while allowing his consciousness to travel through realms that follow dream logic rather than physical laws. He must be precise enough to create an accurate map, yet flexible enough to capture the garden's fluid, responsive nature. The balance is delicate, like trying to map a melody or chart the course of a gentle breeze. As the morning progresses, the map begins to take shape under Elias's careful attention. He draws the entrance of gentle invitation, marked by gates that appear solid from the outside, but prove permeable to anyone approaching with genuine need for peace. He charts a pathway of gradual calming, which spirals inward through increasingly tranquil landscapes, each turn offering a deeper level of restoration than the last. His map includes detailed notations about the garden's seasonal variations, for while they maintain their essential character throughout the year, they adapt their specific offerings to the changing needs of the world's weary souls. In spring, the gardens emphasize renewal and hope, their flowers blooming in patterns that encourage optimism about new beginnings. Summer brings deeper rest, with shaded groves and cool streams providing refuge from the intensity of the season's energy. Autumn offers the comfort of harvest and completion, while winter provides a profound peace of dormancy and the promise of eventual renewal. The most challenging aspect of mapping the Twilight Gardens lies in capturing their interactive nature. Unlike static landscapes, these gardens respond to their visitors, subtly altering their configuration to provide exactly the type of peace each soul most needs. A person seeking solitude might find pathways that lead to private alcoves where they can contemplate in perfect quiet, while someone longing for connection discovers gathering places where gentle souls naturally converge for wordless communion. Elias addresses this challenge through a revolutionary cartographic technique he has spent years developing. layered mapping that shows not just a garden's physical features, but their potential configurations. Using inks that shift color depending on the angle of view, he creates maps that reveal different pathways and destinations as they are studied, allowing each viewer to discover routes specifically suited to their current needs. The borders of this extraordinary map bloom with illustrations that seem to move in peripheral vision, butterflies whose wings carry patterns that naturally slow racing thoughts, birds that fly in formation designed to guide the eye toward meditative focus, and flowers that open and close in rhythm with the observer's breathing. These decorative elements are not merely artistic flourishes, but functional components of the map's restorative power. As afternoon light begins to slant through the workshop windows with increasing gold, Elias realizes he is approaching completion of his masterwork. The final element of the map come together with satisfying precision. The chart of evening breezes that shows how gentle winds carry different fragrances to different areas at specific times. The index of peaceful sounds that catalogs the garden's natural symphony of rustling leaves and trickling water. And the guide to restorative moments that explains how to recognize and fully experience the garden's most healing offerings. With the final stroke of his quill, Elias completes not just another map, but a masterpiece that captures something previously thought impossible to document: the geography of peace itself. The completed map seems to pulse gently with its own inner light, and the workshop fills with a faint fragrance of twilight jasmine and evening primrose, as if the gardens themselves are expressing approval of their faithful chronicler's work. But Elias knows that the true test of any map lies not in its beauty or technical precision, but in its ability to guide travelers to their desired destination. He carefully rolls a completed map in silk cloth the color of evening sky, seals it with wax that bears the impression of his personal symbol, a compass rose whose points are shaped like opening flower petals, and places in the special cabinet where he keeps maps ready for distribution to those who need them most. The cabinet itself is carved from wood blessed by the tree spirits of the calming forest, and its interior maintains the perfect temperature and humidity to preserve both the physical integrity of the maps and their more subtle qualities. Each map in the collection waits patiently for the right moment and the right person, ready to provide guidance to souls seeking particular form of peace it documents. Over the years, Elias's maps have found their way to insomniacs lying awake in city apartments, to overwhelmed parents seeking a moment of restoration, to students crushed by academic pressure, and to anyone whose spirit has grown weary from the demands of modern life. Some recipients discover the maps in used bookshops, tucked between volumes of poetry and philosophy. Others find them left anonymously on park benches or slipped under apartment doors by unknown benefactors who understand the gift they carry. The maps work their magic in subtle ways. Sometimes a reader studying one of Elias's creations finds themselves breathing more deeply without conscious intention. Others discover that simply having the map nearby improves their sleep, as if its presence creates a field of tranquility that extends beyond the parchment itself. The most profound experiences come to those who use the maps for actual spiritual navigation, closing their eyes and allowing their minds to walk the peaceful paths Elias has so carefully documented. As evening approaches and the lighthouse begins its ancient function of sending beams of safety across the darkening waters, Elias completes his daily ritual by updating his master chart, a comprehensive map that shows the connections between all peaceful places throughout the world. This chart reveals the invisible network of tranquility that underlies the more obvious geography of mountains, rivers, and cities, streams of calm that flow between meditation gardens and quiet libraries, pathways of peace that connect hospital chapels with monastery courtyards, and currents of serenity that link every location where someone has found genuine rest for their spirit. The master chart grows more complex each year as Elias discovers new peaceful places and documents the evolving patterns of connection between them. It has become a living document that reflects the world's changing needs for restoration and the eternal human quest for places where the soul can find genuine rest. Tonight, as the lighthouse beam sweeps its protective arc across the sea and the workshop fills with a gentle glow of candlelight, Elias reflects on the profound satisfaction of his calling. In a world often dominated by noise and haste, he serves as guardian of the quiet places, chronicler of the sanctuaries where peace still reigns supreme. His maps are more than navigational tools. They are prayers made visible, invitations to remember that tranquility is not just a luxury, but a necessity for the human spirit. Each line he draws, each symbol he places, Each notation he makes contributes to humanity's collective knowledge of how to find rest in a restless world. His work ensures that the ancient art of peaceful navigation will not be lost, that future generations will know where to look when their souls cry out for the healing that only genuine tranquility can provide. As the stars emerge in the darkening sky above the lighthouse, their light mingles with the golden glow from Elias's workshop windows, creating a beacon that signals not just safe harbor for ships at sea, but sanctuary for all who seek the peaceful places that his patient hands have mapped with such loving care. Part 4. The Shepherd of Sleeping Clouds. Restful Tales, a bedtime story series. High above the world, where the air grows thin and silence deepens into something almost tangible, the mountain peaks pierce the sky like ancient fingers reaching toward the stars. It is here, in this realm between earth and heaven, that Luna Cloudright tends her extraordinary flock. Not sheep of wool and flesh, but clouds of mist and dream that drift down from the highest altitudes when they grow heavy with the day's accumulated rest. Luna's domain encompasses the entire chain of the slumbering peaks, 7 mountains whose summits remain forever wrapped in wisps of drowsing vapor. These are not ordinary clouds, but celestial shepherds' helpers that collect peaceful dreams from the upper atmosphere and carry them down to the world below. When the weight of gathered tranquility becomes too much of them to bear aloft, they descend to mountain meadows like ethereal sheep seeking pasture and the gentle guidance of their shepherd. The shepherd herself is a figure both timeless and ageless, her silver hair braided with threads of actual starlight that were gifted to her by the aurora herself on the night she first accepted her calling. Luna's robes are woven from a morning mist of high mountain lakes, fabric so fine it seems more like captured breath than cloth, and it shifts color with her mood and the needs of her celestial flock. Sometimes the pale blue of pre-dawn sky, other times the soft purple of twilight, and occasionally the pure white of fresh snow when her work requires the deepest concentration. Her tools are as unique as her calling. The staff she carries was carved from a piece of driftwood that spent centuries floating on the celestial sea, a body of water that exists only at the highest altitudes, where the air is so thin that liquid and vapor become indistinguishable. The wood has absorbed the essence of clouds over countless years, becoming light as air yet strong as steel, perfectly suited for gently guiding beings made of condensed dreams and crystallized peace. Around her waist, Luna wears a pouch woven from moonbeams and filled with silver bells of various sizes, each one tuned to a different frequency that resonates with specific types of clouds. The gentle chiming of these bells creates melodies that only clouds can hear, songs that speak to their deepest nature and help them understand where they are most needed in the world below. The smallest bells call to the young, energetic clouds full of children's bedtime giggles and the innocent dreams of those who still believe in magic. The largest bells summon the ancient, wise clouds that carry within them the accumulated rest of centuries and a profound peace that comes only with great age and experience. Most remarkable of all is Luna's companion, a creature she simply calls Nimbus, who appears to be a border collie formed from living mist and starlight. Nimbus possesses all the intelligence and devotion of his earthly counterparts, but his form shifts and changes like the clouds themselves, sometimes solid enough to bound across the rocky mountainsides, other times dispersing into vapor that can slip through the tiniest crevices or rise to impossible heights. His eyes are points of concentrated starlight, and his bark sounds like distant thunder heard through layers of soft cotton. Luna's day begins before the sun has even considered rising, when the first clouds of the night begin their slow descent from the stratosphere. These early arrivals are usually the gentlest varieties. Comfort clouds that carry the essence of mother's lullabies, healing clouds infused with the peaceful sighs of those recovering from illness, and dream clouds that shimmer with the hopes and wishes of children drifting off to sleep. She meets them at the gathering ground, a high meadow carpeted with grass, so soft it seems to be made of green velvet, dotted with flowers that bloom only in moonlight, and emit a gentle phosphorescence that guides the descending clouds to safe landing. The meadow exists in a natural bowl between 2 peaks, sheltered from harsh winds but open to the sky, creating perfect conditions for clouds to settle and rest. As the clouds drift down like enormous, slow-moving snowflakes, Luna moves among them with practiced grace, assessing each one's condition and needs. Some arrive exhausted from carrying particularly heavy loads of peace across great distances, their forms barely holding together, wisps of themselves trailing away like sighs. Others pulse with vibrant energy, Young clouds have gathered their first collections of restful dreams and are eager to share their treasure with the world below. Luna's first task is always to ensure that each cloud has arrived safely and is in good health. She moves through the meadow with her staff extended, the carved wood glowing softly as it comes into contact with cloud essence, where she finds tears or thin spots in the cloud structure, damage that can occur during the long journey from the upper atmosphere. She performs delicate repairs, using techniques passed down through generations of cloud shepherds. The repair process is both art and meditation, requiring Luna to match her breathing to the cloud's natural rhythm while weaving new density into damaged areas with gentle movements of her staff. She hums as she works, ancient melodies that resonate with the fundamental frequency of peace itself, helping the clouds remember their essential nature and purpose. The most severely damaged clouds require extended healing, and Luna will sometimes spend hours working with a single wispy creature, gradually nursing it back to full density and peaceful potency. Once the basic health of her flock is assured, Luna begins the more complex work of organizing them according to their cargo and destination. Different types of clouds carry different varieties of rest and peace, and each must be guided to locations where their particular gifts are most needed. The comfort clouds, with their payload of maternal warmth and safety, are directed toward hospitals, nurseries, and homes where illness or distress calls out for gentle healing. The dream clouds, shimmering with possibilities and wonder, are sent to schools and libraries, theaters and art studios, anywhere that imagination needs nourishment. The sorting process requires Luna to examine each cloud not just with her eyes, but with senses that have been developed through years of working with these ethereal beings. She can smell the difference between clouds carrying peaceful sleep and those bearing healing dreams. She can feel the subtle temperature variations that indicate whether a cloud holds summer afternoon contentment or winter evening coziness. Most importantly, she can sense the emotional resonance of each cloud's cargo, understanding intuitively which souls in the world below are calling out for the specific type of peace each cloud carries. Some of the most challenging clouds to work with are the storm clouds that occasionally descend to Luna's meadow. These are not angry or violent clouds, but rather being so filled with powerful dreams and profound peace that they require special handling to prevent them from releasing their cargo too quickly or intensively. Storm clouds carry the kind of rest that comes after great struggle, the profound exhaustion and relief felt by those who have finally overcome significant challenges. Their peace is earned rather than given, deeper and more transformative than the gentler varieties, but also potentially overwhelming if not properly managed. When Luna encounters storm clouds, she approaches them with extra care, using the largest of her silver bells to create deep, resonant tones that help these powerful beings achieve stability. She guides them to special resting areas in the meadow where the grass grows taller and the flowers bloom in darker, richer colors. Space is designed to contain and channel intense, peaceful energy. Here, the storm clouds can gradually release their pressure, transforming from dense, roiling masses into the steady, nourishing rain of deep rest that will eventually reach those who have fought hard battles and desperately need profound restoration. The most delicate aspect of Luna's work involves the timing of cloud dispersal. Each cloud must be released at precisely the right moment to reach its intended destination when its gifts are most needed. This requires Luna to maintain awareness not just of her immediate flock, but the complex patterns of need and longing that flow across the world below. She has developed an almost mystical sense of timing, understanding when shift workers in distant cities are ending their long days, when parents are finally getting children settled for the night, when students are closing their books after hours of study, and when countless other souls are ready to receive the gift of peaceful rest. Luna uses a combination of intuition, careful observation of wind patterns, and consultation with Nimbus to determine the optimal release schedule for each cloud. Her faithful companion possesses a remarkable ability to sense emotional weather patterns across vast distances. He can feel the collective sighs of exhaustion rising from crowded cities, detect the yearning for peace that emanates from hospitals and care facilities, and even pick up the subtle vibrations of individual souls crying out for rest in the darkness of their solitude. The release process itself is a ceremony of profound beauty. Luna positions herself at the highest point of the meadow, raises her staff toward the sky, and begins to ring her silver bells in carefully orchestrated sequences. The sound creates currents in the air that lift the clouds gently from their resting places, carrying them up and away from the mountain meadow on invisible rivers of harmonized peace. As each cloud departs, it trails streamers of condensed tranquility that create temporary aurora-like displays in the sky, sheets of soft light and colors that exist nowhere else in nature, hues that speak directly to the soul's need for beauty and wonder. These displays are visible only to those whose hearts are truly open to receiving peace, and they serve as a sign that help from above is on its way. The clouds travel along ancient pathways in the sky that Luna has spent decades learning to read and influence. These aerial highways follow the natural currents of peace that flow around the planet, connecting locations of high tranquility and carrying restorative energy to places where it's most desperately needed. Some routes are well established, used by generations of peace-bearing clouds, while others are temporary paths that appear in response to sudden needs, natural disasters, widespread illness, or collective trauma that creates urgent demand for healing rest. Luna monitors her cloud's progress using techniques that blend practical observation with mystical awareness. She tracks weather patterns and wind currents with the skill of a master meteorologist, but she also uses meditation and spiritual connection to maintain contact with her flock across vast distances. On clear nights, she can sometimes see the gentle glow of her clouds as they settle over distant cities, releasing their precious cargo in the form of unusually restful sleep, peaceful dreams, and the subtle sense of being watched over by benevolent forces. The most rewarding aspect of Luna's work comes when she receives confirmation that her clouds have successfully delivered their gifts. This arrives in various forms, sometimes as dreams that find their way back to the mountain peaks, carrying gratitude from souls who have experienced unexpectedly profound rest. Occasionally as subtle changes in the world's overall peace quotient that she can feel as shifts in the mountain's spiritual atmosphere, and most touchingly, as spontaneous appearances of new peaceful places in the world below, gardens that bloom with unusual tranquility, rooms that become spontaneous sanctuaries, and outdoor spaces that develop reputations as particularly restful locations. These feedback loops help Luna understand which types of cloud cargo are most effective for different situations, allowing her to gradually improve her shepherding techniques and develop new varieties of peace-bearing clouds. Over the years, she has cultivated clouds that specialize in healing specific forms of distress. Anxiety clouds that carry the essence of deep, slow breathing. Worry clouds that bear the weight of perspective and wisdom. And loneliness clouds that shimmer with the warm presence of being truly seen and valued. Some of the most precious clouds in Luna's care are the memory clouds, rare formations that contain not just peace, but specific peaceful memories donated by souls who have experienced perfect moments of tranquility and chosen to share them with others. These clouds carry scenes of childhood summers, quiet moments by firelight, the contentment of being held by loving arms, and hundreds of other experiences that represent humanity's treasury of peaceful moments. Memory clouds require special handling because they're essentially living repositories of human experience, and they must be matched very carefully with recipients who can fully appreciate and integrate their gifts. Luna has developed the ability to read the essential character of these clouds, understanding not just what memories they contain, but what type of person would benefit most from receiving them. A cloud carrying the memory of a grandmother's gentle hands might be directed toward a young mother struggling with her first child, while one containing the peace of early morning solitude might find its way to a crowded city where someone desperately needs to remember what stillness feels like. As the night deepens and Luna completes another cycle of cloud shepherding, she returns to her simple stone shelter built into mountainside near the gathering ground. The shelter is small but perfectly suited to her needs, with windows positioned to provide clear views of the sky in all directions and walls thick enough to provide warmth during the harsh mountain winters. Inside, the space is arranged with the same attention to peace and tranquility that Luna brings to her work with clouds. Her few possessions are all chosen for their ability to enhance rest and meditation. A sleeping area with bedding made from cloud silk, a small hearth that burns without smoke using crystallized starlight as fuel, and shelves holding journals where she records the patterns and needs she observes in her work. Before retiring for her own rest, Luna performs a final ritual of gratitude and intention setting for the following day's work. She stands at her window facing the valley below, now dotted with the gentle glow of her departed clouds, settling over distant communities, and offers thanks for the privilege of serving as a bridge between the celestial realm of accumulated peace and the earthly realm of souls in need of restoration. Her prayer is wordless but profound, a transmission of love and dedication that rises from the mountain peaks like incense, joining the eternal song of service that connects all beings who have chosen to dedicate their lives to healing and peace. As she finally settles into her own rest, Luna carries with her the deep satisfaction of knowing that somewhere below, countless souls are sleeping more peacefully because of her faithful tending of the clouds that carry dreams from heaven to earth. In her own dreams, Luna sometimes flies alongside her clouds, experiencing their journeys firsthand and witnessing the moments when their precious cargo reaches souls who desperately needed exactly what they carried. These dreams reinforce her calling and provide her with the spiritual nourishment necessary to continue her demanding but essential work as shepherd of the sleeping clouds, guardian of the pathways between celestial peace and earthly rest. Part 5. The Library of Forgotten Lullabies. Restful Tales, a bedtime story series. In the space that exists between one heartbeat and the next, where time moves not forward or backward, but inward toward the soul's deepest need for comfort, stands a library unlike any other in creation. This is a repository of humanity's forgotten lullabies, the sanctuary where every gentle song ever hummed to soothe a troubled spirit finds its eternal home. The library exists in all times and no time, accessible to those who understand that some places can only be reached by following melodies rather than roads. The young librarian who tends this remarkable collection is called Melody Songkeeper, though her name seems to shift and harmonize depending on who speaks it, as if the very syllables remember their musical nature and refuse to remain static. She appears to be perhaps 25 years old, but her eyes hold the depth of someone who has listened to 10,000 lullabies and understood the stories they tell about love, loss, hope, and the endless human need to offer comfort to others. Melody's appearance reflects her calling. Her hair is the color of silver moonlight caught in forest streams, and it moves with its own gentle rhythm even in the library's still air. Her clothing seems woven from captured whispers and crystallized sighs, fabric so fine it appears to be made of solidified music itself. Around her throat she wears a necklace of small crystal bells that chime softly with each breath, creating a constant, barely audible accompaniment to her movements that helps maintain the library's atmosphere of gentle harmony. The library itself defies conventional architecture, existing in dimensions that follow the logic of melody rather than geometry. Its walls curve like the inside of a vast musical instrument, and they are made not of stone or wood but of crystallized silence, a substance that appears perfectly clear yet somehow emanates the quality of perfect quiet. This creates walls that are simultaneously transparent and substantial, allowing light to pass through while containing and preserving the precious sounds stored within. The most striking feature of the library is its collection method. Instead of books arranged on shelves, melodies are preserved in glass vessels of every conceivable shape and size. These bottles, jars, and spheres line the curved walls from floor to ceiling, each one glowing with its own inner light that corresponds to the emotional content of the lullaby contains. Gentle blue radiances indicate songs of comfort and safety, warm golden glows mark melodies of love and protection, and soft purple illumination reveals lullabies that carry deep spiritual peace. Each vessel is unique, shaped not by a glassblower's art, but by the essential nature of the melody it contains. A lullaby that speaks of ocean waves might be held in a bottle shaped like a conch shell, its surface etched with patterns that mirror the rhythm of gentle surf. A song about starlight could reside in a sphere that seems to contain actual points of light, while a melody about mother's love might be preserved in a vessel shaped like cupped hands, warm to the touch and seeming to pulse with a gentle heartbeat. The vessels are arranged according to a cataloging system that exists nowhere else in creation, organized not alphabetically or chronologically, but by emotional resonance and the specific types of comfort they provide. Lullabies for physical pain clustered together in vessels that glow with soft green light, while songs meant to ease heartbreak are grouped in containers that shimmer with the silver of tears transformed into hope. The most precious collection occupies the library's central alcove, the first lullabies, the original melodies hummed by the first conscious beings who ever felt moved to comfort another's distress. Melody's primary responsibility involves the preservation and maintenance of these musical treasures. Each lullaby is a living thing in its own way, possessing the breath and heartbeat of whoever first sang it, carry within its notes the intention and love that brought it into being. Over time, if not properly tended, these songs can fade or become distorted, their healing properties diminished by the accumulated noise and haste of the world they've left behind. The librarian's daily routine begins with what she calls a morning attunement, a ritual performed when a library's crystalline walls catch the first light of dawn and transform it into gentle rainbow patterns that dance across the collection. Melody moves through the curved spaces with a tuning fork made from crystallized prayer, its tone so pure and true that it serves as a reference point for all other sounds in the library. She begins each day by listening to a selection of lullabies, checking her clarity and emotional integrity with the trained ear of someone who has learned to hear not just melody and rhythm, but the deeper current of intention and love that give each song its power to heal. This is delicate work, requiring not just musical expertise, but profound empathy and spiritual sensitivity. Melody must be able to detect when a lullaby has absorbed discord from the outside world, when its message of comfort has become clouded by doubt or fear, or when its healing properties have begun to fade due to the simple passage of time. When she discovers a lullaby that has suffered damage or deterioration, Melody performs a restoration process that is part musical performance, part healing ceremony, and part prayer. She carefully removes the affected vessel from its place in the collection and carries it to the restoration chamber, a circular space at the library's heart where the acoustics have been perfected over centuries to provide ideal conditions for musical healing. The chamber is furnished with a single chair carved from the heartwood of a tree that grew in perfect silence for 300 years, its grain flowing in patterns that naturally guide the eye toward meditative focus. Around the chair, the walls are lined with panels of different crystallized emotions: joy, sorrow, hope, fear, love, each one capable of resonating with a specific aspect of the human experience that lullabies address. Melody settles into the chair with the damaged lullaby's vessel cradled in her hands and begins a delicate process of restoration. She opens the container carefully, allowing the melody to emerge into the chamber's perfected air, and listens with every fiber of her being to understand what has been lost or corrupted. Sometimes the damage is obvious: a note that has gone flat from absorbing someone's despair, a rhythm that had become hurried from exposure to anxiety, or words that have become unclear from too much doubt about their power to comfort. The restoration process requires Melody to become a living tuning fork, using her own voice to demonstrate the lullaby's pure, original form. She sings not with the trained perfection of a professional performer, but with the authentic love and intention of every mother, father, sibling, or friend who has ever offered a song as a gift of comfort. Her voice carries the accumulated wisdom of all the lullabies she has tended, becoming a channel through which the perfect essence of each melody can remember its true nature and purpose. As she sings, the crystalline panels around the chamber respond to the emotional content of the music, glowing and harmonizing to create sympathetic resonances that help the damaged lullaby heal. The process can take minutes or hours, depending on the severity of the deterioration, and it requires Melody to maintain perfect compassion and understanding throughout, never allowing impatience or frustration to color her restoration work. When a lullaby has been successfully restored, it returns to its vessel with renewed clarity and power, its light brighter and its capacity to comfort enhanced by the cares received. Melody returns each restored melody to its proper place in collection, but not before making a careful note in her memory of the type of damage it suffered and the restoration techniques that proved most effective. This knowledge helps her better understand how to protect other lullabies from similar deterioration. Some of the most challenging work in the library involves cataloging and preserving newly arrived lullabies, songs that appear spontaneous in the collection when someone, somewhere in the world, created a melody born from pure love and the desperate need to comfort another soul. These new arrivals appear as small points of light that float through the library's crystalline walls, seeking their proper vessels and places in the collection. New lullabies arrive at all hours, materializing from moment of profound caring across the world. A mother humming wordlessly to a crying infant, a lover singing softly to ease their partner's nightmare, a friend creating a melody to comfort someone facing loss, or even a stranger humming gently to calm a frightened animal. Each of these spontaneous creations carries such pure intention that it transcends its immediate circumstance and becomes part of humanity's eternal treasury of comfort songs. When Melody senses a new arrival, She follows the floating light with reverent attention, observing its behavior to understand what type of lullaby has been born and what vessel will best preserve its essence. Some new songs are bold and bright, created from moments of fierce protective love, and they seek strong, clearly shaped containers that can hold their intensity. Others are whisper soft, born from gentle, tentative attempts to offer comfort, and they drift toward delicate, almost transparent vessels that can preserve their fragile beauty. The process of matching new lullabies with appropriate vessels requires Melody to enter a state of deep meditation, opening her awareness of the song's essential nature and allowing her intuition to guide her to the perfect container. She has learned to trust this inner guidance completely, understanding that the library itself participates in the preservation process, helping to ensure that each melody finds exactly the vessel it needs to maintain its power and purity. Once housed in their proper containers, new lullabies join the library's permanent collection, but their integration requires careful attention to placement and cataloging. Melody must determine not just where each song belongs in the organizational system, but how it relates to existing lullabies and what unique contribution it makes to the overall collection. Some new arrivals complement existing songs, creating harmonic families of related melodies, while others introduce entirely new approaches to comfort and healing that expand the library's therapeutic capabilities. The library's most precious collection occupies a specially protected area known as the Archive of Ultimate Comfort, a vault containing lullabies that possess such profound healing power they can only be accessed in cases of extreme need. These are songs born from the deepest experiences of human love. Melodies created by parents singing to terminally ill children, partners offering music to ease death's approach, or individuals creating beauty in the midst of unimaginable tragedy. The archive vessels are made from crystallized tears of joy, the precious substance formed when profound sorrow transforms into gratitude for love shared, even in the face of loss. These containers glow with a light so pure and gentle it seems to emanate peace directly, and they are arranged in patterns that create natural harmonies among the stored melodies, allowing them to strengthen and support each other through their proximity. Access to the archive requires Melody to undergo a purification ritual that ensures she approaches these ultimate treasures with appropriate reverence and spiritual preparation. She fasts for a day, spending the time in meditation and prayer, opening her heart to receive whatever wisdom the ultimate comfort songs might offer. Only then does she enter the archive, moving with the slow, respectful pace of one walking on sacred ground. The archive serves multiple purposes in the library's mission. Sometimes Melody draws upon these ultimate lullabies to restore severely damaged songs in the main collection, using their pure essence as a healing reference point. Other times, she studies them to better understand the deepest principles of musical comfort, gaining insights that help her improve her restoration techniques and better serve the library's broader collection. Most importantly, the archive provides a resource for the library's ultimate function, the distribution of lullabies to souls in desperate need of comfort. While most of the library's collection serves passive preservation, certain songs are meant to be shared, sent out into the world as gifts of hearts crying out for the specific comfort they provide. This distribution process occurs through a mechanism that exists at the boundary between music and magic. When someone in the world experiences profound distress and calls out, consciously or unconsciously, for comfort, their need creates a resonance that travels through dimensions to reach the library. Melody feels these calls as gentle tugs on her consciousness, each one carrying the distinctive frequency of a specific type of suffering and a particular variety of comfort that could best address it. When such a call reaches a library, Melody enters a trance-like state that allows her to locate the perfect lullaby for the situation. She moves through the collection guided by pure intuition, drawn to exactly the right vessel by the magnetic pull of matching need and available comfort. Sometimes a required song comes from the main collection, other times from the Archive of Ultimate Comfort, and occasionally from the newest arrivals that seem to have materialized specifically in response to the distant cry for help. The selected lullaby is then released from its vessel and sent out into the world through pathways that follow the currents of compassion connecting all living beings. It might reach its intended recipient as a half-remembered melody that surfaces in their mind during a moment of quiet, as a song that plays unexpectedly on a radio just when it's most needed, or as a tune hummed by a stranger who feels inexplicably moved to offer this small comfort. The most profound experiences occur when lullabies reach their recipients in dreams, arriving as perfect melodies that provide deep healing during sleep. These dream deliveries allow the songs to work at the soul level, bypassing conscious resistance, and touching the core places where comfort is most desperately needed. People who receive lullabies in their dreams often wake with an inexplicable sense of being cared for and a melody they can't quite remember, but that somehow continues to provide comfort throughout their waking hours. Melody tracks these distributions through a system of sympathetic resonance that allows her to feel the impact of each sent lullaby. When a song successfully reaches its target and provides the needed comfort, the library itself glows a little brighter, and Melody experiences a warm sensation of satisfaction that confirms the mission's success. These confirmations provide the emotional nourishment that sustains her through the solitary aspects of her work, reminding her that the library's preservation efforts serve a living, breathing purpose in the world. As the evening approaches and the library's crystalline walls begin to catch and reflect the soft light of sunset, Melody performs her final daily ritual, the evening gratitude. She moves through the collection, pausing at random vessels to listen briefly to their contents, offering wordless thanks to the countless souls who created these melodies out of love and the desire to comfort others. This gratitude practice serves multiple purposes. It maintains Melody's connection to the human hearts behind each lullaby. It provides regular monitoring of the collection's overall health and creates a field of appreciation that helps protect the library and its contents from the discordant influences of the outside world. The gratitude itself becomes a form of preservation, ensuring that the love and intention embedded in each lullaby continues to resonate with strength and purity. Finally, Melody settles into her own rest area, a simple alcove furnished with a bed whose frame is carved from resonant wood and whose mattress is stuffed with down from birds that sing only lullabies. As she drifts towards sleep, she is surrounded by the gentle chorus of the library's collection, not audible to ordinary hearing, but perceptible to her attuned consciousness as a vast, harmonious symphony of comfort that has been building note by note, song by song, over all the centuries of human love and caring. In her dreams, Melody often visits the moments when the library's lullabies were first created, witnessing the love and dedication that brought each melody into being. These dream experiences deepen her understanding of her collection and strengthen her commitment to preserving these precious gifts for future generations who will need their comfort and healing power. The Library of Forgotten Lullabies continues its eternal mission, growing richer with each act of musical love, while sending its healing songs out into a world that desperately needs to remember that comfort is always possible, and that somewhere in the space between heartbeats, gentle melodies wait patiently to transform suffering into peace. The Weaver of Night Breezes. In a cottage that stands where 7 ancient pathways converge, at the precise point where the veil between the waking world and the realm of dreams grows gossamer thin with each passing sunset, lives Seraphina Windright. She is the keeper of the most delicate and mysterious craft ever mastered by mortal hands, the weaving of night breezes from the very essence of peaceful darkness itself. The cottage appears unremarkable to those who pass by in daylight hours, constructed of weathered fieldstone that has absorbed centuries of moonlight and timber aged to the soft gray of morning mist. Ivy climbs its walls in careful patterns, as if guided by an invisible hand to create windows for starlight to enter and illuminate the sacred work within. But it is the garden surrounding this humble dwelling that hints at the extraordinary nature of its occupant's calling. Here, in carefully tended beds that follow the natural contours of the land, grow plants chosen not for their daytime beauty, but for their nocturnal gifts. Night-blooming jasmine cascades over trellises made from driftwood blessed by ancient sea spirits, each small white flower opening like a tiny star to release fragrances that carry within them the very essence of peaceful dreams. Evening primrose carpets the winding pathways, their soft yellow blooms exhaling gentle currents even on the stillest nights, as if the flowers themselves breathe with the rhythm of sleeping children. Moonflower vines embrace arbors crafted from wood that once grew in groves where unicorns came to rest, their pure white trumpet-shaped blossoms opening only after darkness falls, catching and amplifying the softest whispers of air and transform them into therapeutic winds that possess an uncanny knowledge of where healing touch is needed most urgently. The cottage's most remarkable feature lies within its walls, occupying an entire circular upper floor in a room that defies conventional understanding of space and dimension. This is Seraphina's workshop, and at its heart stands what may be the most extraordinary loom ever constructed by hands both mortal and divine. The loom's frame appears to have been carved from a single piece of wood, though not from any tree that has grown in the mortal realm for over a millennium. The grain flows like captured liquid starlight, creating patterns that seem to shift and dance when observed from the corner of one's eye. Its surface bears the accumulated patina of centuries of gentle use, polished smooth by countless hours of careful work, yet somehow retaining the living warmth of the ancient forest from which it came. Instead of ordinary threads, the loom is strung with materials so ethereal they border on the mythical. The warp threads, those vertical strands that provide the structural foundation for all weaving, are spun from moonbeams caught in crystal nets during the 3 nights of the new moon, when lunar energy is at its most concentrated and pure. These silver threads are so fine, they remain nearly invisible, except when light strikes them at precisely the correct angle, creating brief flashes of captured celestial radiance. The weft threads, woven horizontally through this moonbeam foundation, come from sources even more extraordinary. Some are crafted from the whisper of wind that passes between an angel's wings during flight. Others from the precious pause that exists in the moment between a mother's lullaby and her child's peaceful sigh of contentment. The most valuable threads are woven from the profound silence that settles over still water at the stroke of midnight, a substance so pure and tranquil that it must be gathered one crystalline drop at a time, using tools forged from solidified prayer. Seraphina herself appears ageless in the manner of those who have learned to work in perfect harmony with forces far greater than themselves. Her hair flows like spun silver, not whitened by the passage of years, but transformed by decades of absorbing moonlight during her nocturnal labors. Her hands, the most essential tools of her sacred craft, are long and graceful, with fingers that move with the fluid precision of water finding its destined course, each motion flowing seamlessly into the next with dancer's unconscious grace. Her clothing reflects both the practical demands of her work and the sacred nature of her calling. She wears robes created from her own weavings, fabric made from gentle evening breezes that carries within its fibers the subtle fragrances of night-blooming flowers and the soft whisper of wind moving through wheat fields under starlight. The robes shift colors subtly as the night progresses, sometimes appearing deep blue like the sky before dawn, other times taking on the silver gray of mist rising from quiet streams in the hour before sunrise. Around her slender waist, Seraphina wears a belt from which hang the specialized tools of her unique craft. A spindle carved from fossilized lightning, used to twist the most volatile wind elements into manageable threads without losing their essential wildness. Scissors forged from crystallized dawnlight, capable of cutting through solidified breezes without disturbing their fundamental nature. And a shuttle crafted from a heartwood of trees that have learned the art of whispering secrets to the wind. The weaving process itself unfolds like a sacred ritual, unlike any other craft practiced anywhere in the known world. Each evening, as the sun begins its descent toward the horizon and the boundary between day and night creates optimal conditions for capturing transitional energies, Seraphina approaches her work with the reverent attention of a priestess approaching a holy altar. She begins by extending her consciousness beyond the cottage walls, reaching out with senses refined by decades of practice to read the world's atmospheric needs. Her awareness flows across continents and oceans, feeling for pockets of distress where cooling winds might bring blessed relief to fever-racked bodies, sensing locations where warming breezes could provide comfort to souls chilled by grief or loneliness, identifying areas where healing air currents could ease both physical ailments and the deeper wounds of the heart. This global empathy, developed through years of dedicated practice, allows her to understand precisely what types of breezes the world requires on any given night. Some evenings call for winds that carry the scent of rain to drought-stricken lands, while others demand gentle currents infused with the essence of healing herbs to ease suffering in distant hospitals and sick rooms. Tonight, as autumn settles more deeply over the northern lands and winter's first whispers can be felt in the changing air, Seraphina senses a particular need for breezes that carry warmth without weight, comfort without oppression. She selects her materials with infinite care, choosing moonbeam threads that have absorbed the golden light of harvest moons, and weft strands spun from the contented sighs of children safe in their beds. As her shuttle begins its rhythmic journey back and forth through the vertical threads, the loom itself seems to come alive, resonating with harmonics that exist just below the threshold of human hearing. The completed fabric emerges slowly, each row adding another layer to what will become a breeze capable of carrying exactly the right combination of temperature, humidity, and healing energy to fulfill its destined purpose. Her cat, Whisper, watches from his perch on the windowsill, his ancient eyes reflecting the gentle radiance that emanates from the loom during the weaving process. Whisper is no ordinary feline, but a creature born from the dreams of sleeping winds. His fur soft as cloud down, and his purr attuned to the frequency of perfect peace. As the night deepens and her work continues, Serafina finds herself entering the meditative state that her craft demands. Her breathing synchronizes with the rhythm of the shuttle. Her heartbeat matches the subtle pulse of the moonbeam threads, and her consciousness expands to encompass not just her immediate task, but the vast network of needs and comforts that her breezes will address throughout the world. Each completed breeze is a masterwork of invisible artistry, woven with properties as specific and complex as any medicine. Some are designed to carry the coolness of mountain streams to fevered children, while others bear the warmth of summer afternoons to elderly hands stiffened by winter cold. The most complex creations are therapeutic winds, imbued with healing properties that can ease both physical discomfort and the subtler pains of anxiety, loneliness, and despair. As dawn approaches and her night's work nears completion, Serafina prepares to release her creations into the world. She moves to the cottage windows, opening them wide to the pre-dawn air, and one by one, she releases each breeze with a whispered blessing. They lift from her hands like living creatures, eager to fulfill their compassionate missions, dispersing across the globe with purpose and grace. Some travel to nurseries where babies struggle with restless sleep, others to hospital wards where patients toss in discomfort, and still others to the windows of anyone who has ever stood alone in darkness, hoping for a sign that gentleness and care still exist in the world. Each breeze carries within it not just physical comfort, but a message of connection, a reminder that somewhere in the vast tapestry of existence, someone cares enough to weave relief from the very essence of peaceful night itself. As the first light of dawn touches the cottage garden and the night-blooming flowers begin to close their petals in preparation for daylight rest, Serafina tidies her workspace with the same methodical care she brings to every aspect of her craft. The loom settles into quietude, the moonbeam threads dimming, until the next evening calls him back to luminous life. She descends a spiral staircase to her living quarters, where a simple meal awaits and where she will spend the daylight hours in restorative sleep, dreaming perhaps of all the comfort her night breezes will bring to weary souls across the world. Her work continues as an eternal cycle of compassion, one carefully woven breath of wind at a time, ensuring that somewhere in the darkness, relief and healing are always drifting on currents of air touched by magic and motivated by boundless love. As Orion works, the brush generates soft, musical tones that resonate with the vibrational frequencies of distant stars, creating harmonics that strengthen the well's connections to their celestial sources. This music is audible only to those attuned to cosmic rhythms, sounding like the whisper of solar winds or the gentle chiming of crystalline formations in the void between worlds. The measuring rod allows Orion to monitor the depth and purity of the starlight in each well, ensuring that the cosmic essence remains concentrated enough to provide healing benefits while not becoming so intense as to overwhelm those who might drink from it. The rod glows with different colors when immersed in starlight of various compositions, creating a visual language that helps Orion understand the current celestial influences affecting each well and adjust his maintenance accordingly. Perhaps the most challenging aspect of Orion's work involves the periodic necessity of sharing the well's precious contents with those who desperately need their healing properties. The starlight collected in the wells is not meant to be hoarded, but distributed to souls suffering from ailments that conventional remedies cannot address. Spiritual emptiness that no earthly comfort can fill, creative blocks that stifle the soul's expression, or deep wounds to the heart that require celestial medicine to heal. People find their way to the starlight wells through dreams, visions, and inexplicable urges to travel to remote places under starlit skies. They arrive as sleepwalkers following stellar navigation, as pilgrims guided by inner compass needles pointing toward healing, or as lost souls who stumble upon the valley while fleeing from troubles too great for earthly solutions. Orion recognizes these seekers by the way starlight reflects in their eyes and the unconscious manner in which they arrange themselves in patterns that mirror constellations. When genuine seekers arrive, Orion performs a diagnostic ritual that allows them to determine which well contains a specific type of starlight needed for their healing. He observes how each visitor responds to the presence of different wells, noting which pools draw their attention, and how their breathing changes as they approach various sources of celestial medicine. This process requires extraordinary sensitivity and deep knowledge of how different stellar influences affect human consciousness and well-being. The healing process itself is both simple and profound. The seeker drinks a single ladle of appropriate starlight, while Orion maintains meditative focus on their spiritual needs. The liquid starlight tastes like liquid crystal touched with the essence of distant suns, cool and refreshing yet somehow substantial enough to nourish both body and soul. As it is consumed, the starlight carries its healing properties directly to the areas of greatest need, working at cellular and spiritual levels simultaneously to restore balance and wholeness. Some healings are immediate and dramatic, creative blocks dissolving instantly as inspiration floods back into previously barren minds, spiritual emptiness filling with renewed sense of purpose and connection to the cosmos, or emotional wounds closing as hearts remember their capacity for love and trust. Other healings work more gradually, providing resources and strength that support long-term recovery and growth, like seeds of stellar light planted in the soul's garden to bloom over months or years of patient cultivation. Orion carefully monitors each healing, using his deep attunement to cosmic forces to ensure that seekers receive exactly what they need without being overwhelmed by energies too powerful for their current spiritual development. He has learned to read the signs of successful integration, the way starlight settles into someone's aura, the change in their breathing patterns as healing takes hold, and the subtle shift in their relationship to the night sky that indicates renewed connection to cosmic sources of guidance and support. Tonight is particularly special in the well's eternal cycle. A rare celestial alignment means that all 7 wells are receiving direct starlight simultaneously from their corresponding constellations, creating a symphony of stellar influences that transforms the entire valley into a cathedral of cosmic light. Such alignments occur only a few times each century, and they represent opportunities for healing and spiritual elevation that transcend the well's already remarkable everyday capabilities. As the alignment reaches its peak, Orion moves between the wells with heightened reverence, ensuring that each pool is perfectly prepared to receive and concentrate the extraordinary influx of celestial energy. The liquid starlight in each well glows more brightly than usual, and the surfaces display constellation patterns with unusual clarity and detail, as if the night sky itself has descended into the valley to offer its healing presence directly to the earth. The wells begin to resonate with each other, their individual stellar frequencies combining to create harmonic patterns that make the air itself seem to shimmer with healing potential. Orion can feel the increased potency in every atom of his being, sensing how the aligned cosmic forces multiply the well's therapeutic capabilities and create opportunities for healings that would normally be impossible. During such alignments, the wells sometimes grant visions to their keeper, showing him glimpses of the cosmic web that connects all stars and planets in patterns of mutual influence and support. These visions help Orion better understand his role in the greater scheme of celestial mechanics and provide insights that improve his ability to facilitate healing and maintain the well's sacred functions. As he works through the alignment's peak hours, Orion experiences a profound sense of connection to forces vastly larger than himself, while simultaneously feeling deeply grounded in his specific purpose as keeper of these particular wells in this particular valley. Part 7. The Keeper of the Starlight Wells. Restful Tales, a bedtime story series. In a hidden valley that exists in the space between earth and sky, where the boundary between terrestrial and celestial becomes meaningless, 7 natural wells reflect the night sky with such perfect clarity that they seem to contain not mere reflections, but actual fragments of the cosmos itself. These are the starlight wells, repositories of liquid starlight that have been collecting for millennia, creating pools of pure celestial essence capable of healing both physical ailments and spiritual wounds that conventional remedies cannot touch. The keeper of these miraculous pools is a gentle soul named Orion Stellarguard, whose very name seems to resonate with the cosmic rhythms that govern his sacred work. He appears to be a man in his 40s, though his true age remains as mysterious as the stars themselves, measured not in years but in the countless nights he has spent in communion with celestial forces. His hair holds a silver of moonbeams woven through midnight black, and his eyes carry the deep blue of twilight skies, flecked with points of light that seem to shift and dance like distant constellations. Orion's clothing reflects his calling. Robes woven from fabric that appears to be cut from the night sky itself, dark blue-black material embedded with threads that gleam like captured starlight. The fabric moves with its own gentle luminescence, creating subtle patterns of light that shift with his movements like aurora dancing across polar skies. Around his waist, he wears a belt made from meteoric silver, its surface engraved with astronomical symbols that serve as both decoration and functional tools for his work with celestial energies. The valley that houses the starlight wells exists in a state of perpetual twilight, that magical hour when day surrenders to night and the veil between worlds grows thin. The landscape rolls gently downward from surrounding hills covered in herbs that bloom only under starlight. Lunar jasmine whose white petals glow with their own soft radiance. Night-blooming cereus that opens its magnificent flowers only when specific constellations are visible, and silver moss that carpets the ground like a pathway made from condensed moonbeams. The 7 wells are arranged in a precise pattern that mirrors the constellation Ursa Major, each pool positioned to correspond with one of the great bear stars. This alignment is not coincidental but essential to their function, as the geometric relationship between the wells creates harmonic resonances that amplify their ability to collect and concentrate stellar energies. Each well is perfectly circular, carved from stone that appears to be ordinary granite, but possesses a remarkable property of being completely transparent to starlight while remaining opaque to all other forms of illumination. The wells themselves are marvels of natural architecture, their depths seemingly infinite despite the fact that Orion can easily reach the bottom with his measuring rod. This paradox reflects the well's true nature as dimensional gateways that extend not downward into the earth, but upward into space, creating direct connections to the stellar sources from which their contents flow. The liquid starlight they contain appears as water of impossible purity, crystal clear, yet somehow more substantial than ordinary H2O, with a density and luminosity that speaks of its cosmic origins. Each well reflects different constellations and carries unique healing properties determined by the stellar sources that feed it. The well of the Great Bear, positioned at the pattern center, contains starlight from Polaris and the surrounding stars, creating liquid that provides strength, endurance, and unwavering direction to those who drink from it. The well of the Swan reflects the constellation Cygnus and offers grace, artistic inspiration, and the ability to navigate life's changes with elegant adaptability. The well of the Eagle corresponds to Aquila and provides courage, keen vision, and the power to rise above earthly troubles through spiritual elevation. The well of the Harp mirrors Lyra and contains liquid music that can heal emotional wounds and restore harmony to troubled hearts. The well of the Crown reflects Corona Borealis and offers wisdom, dignity, and the ability to recognize and fulfill one's true purpose in life. The well of the Hunter corresponds to Orion's own namesake constellation and provides protection, clarity of purpose, and the strength to pursue important goals despite obstacles. Finally, the well of the Scales mirrors Libra and offers balance, justice, and the ability to make fair decisions even in complicated circumstances. Each well's surface displays the distinctive star patterns of its corresponding constellation, creating living maps of the night sky that shift and move with the actual positions of the stars above. Orion's duties as keeper encompass both the practical maintenance of the wells and the deeper spiritual responsibilities of stewarding these connections between Earth and cosmos. His daily routine begins at sunset, when the first stars become visible and the wells begin their nightly process of stellar collection. He moves between the pools with reverent care, carrying tools crafted specifically for this sacred work: a silver ladle that can scoop starlight without dispersing its luminous properties, a crystal brush made from condensed moonbeams for sweeping away earthly debris, and a measuring rod carved from meteorite iron that allows him to gauge the depth and purity of each well's contents. The process of maintaining the wells requires Orion to understand the subtle rhythms of cosmic forces and their interaction with terrestrial elements. Throughout each night, microscopic particles of earthly matter settle onto the well surfaces: pollen from night-blooming flowers, dust carried by evening breezes, and occasionally larger debris like fallen leaves or flower petals. While these intrusions are natural and unavoidable, they must be removed regularly to prevent them from clouding the starlight's purity or interfering with its healing properties. Orion removes this debris using techniques passed down through generations of keepers, methods that combine practical skill with spiritual attunement. He schemes the surface of each well with his silver ladle, moving in patterns that follow the mathematical relationships governing celestial mechanics. The motion is both functional and ceremonial, serving to clear physical obstructions while creating ripples that help align the liquid starlight with its cosmic sources. The crystal brush serves a more delicate function, removing particles too small for the ladle to capture and polishing the stone edges of each well to maintain perfect transparency. The paradox fills him with serene joy, understanding that individual service and cosmic participation are not contradictory, but complementary aspects of meaningful existence. The starlight from the aligned wells creates patterns of illumination that make the entire valley visible from great distances to those with eyes to see beyond ordinary perception. Tonight, more seekers than usual find their way to the healing waters, drawn by dreams of silver light and the soul's recognition that help is available for their deepest needs. As dawn approaches and the stellar alignment begins to fade, Orion completes his night's work with a traditional gratitude ceremony, a ritual that acknowledges the gift of starlight and commits him to continuing faithful stewardship of the well's healing mission. He stands at the center of the 7 wells, arms raised toward the fading stars, and speaks words of thanks that have been passed down through countless generations of keepers. The ceremony concludes as the last stars fade into dawn's approach, but the well's glow continues, sustained by the starlight they have collected throughout the night. Orion settles into rest knowing that the healing waters remain available to any soul brave enough to seek them out, and that somewhere among the stars, cosmic forces continue their eternal work of providing light and healing to a universe filled with both beauty and suffering. In his dreams, Orion often travels among the constellations that feed his wells, experiencing firsthand the stellar nurseries where new light is born and the ancient pulsars where starlight gains the concentrated power needed for healing. These journeys deepen his understanding of the cosmic processes he serves and strengthen his commitment to maintaining the sacred connection between heaven and earth that the starlight wells represent. The keeper of the starlight wells continues his eternal vigil, tending the pools that capture heaven's light and offer his medicine to earth's wounded children, maintaining the delicate balance between cosmic forces and human needs that makes healing possible across the vast distances that separate stars from souls. Part 8. The Guardian of the Sleepy Village. Restful Tales, a bedtime story series. In a village where time moves like honey through amber and every window glows with a warm light of contentment, where cobblestone streets curve gently between cottages that seem to have grown from the earth itself rather than being built upon it, a gentle guardian named Gabriel Peacewarden makes his nightly rounds. This is no ordinary village, but a place that exists in the space between waking and sleeping, where the ordinary world touches something deeper and more nurturing, a sanctuary where rest comes as naturally as breathing and peace settles over everything like a benediction. Gabriel appears to be a man in his early 60s, with the kind of weathered gentleness that speaks of decades spent in service to others' well-being. His hair has turned the silver of moonlight on still water, and his eyes hold the warm brown of earth after a gentle rain, flecked with gold that seems to catch and reflect the light of the lantern he carries. His face bears the deep lines that come from years of smiling, worry lines transformed into laugh lines through the alchemy of life spent bringing comfort to others. The Guardian's clothing reflects both the practical needs of his nightly work and the deeper spiritual dimensions of his calling. He wears a coat woven from wool that holds a memory of peaceful sheep grazing in sunlit meadows, dyed the deep blue of twilight skies and lined with fabric that seems to capture and hold warmth like a loving embrace. His boots are made from leather that has been treated with oils pressed from night-blooming flowers, causing them to move in perfect silence across any surface, while somehow managing to cushion every step with the gentleness of feet walking on clouds. Most remarkable is the lantern Gabriel carries, a device that serves as both practical illumination and spiritual tool. The lantern appears to be made from crystal that has somehow learned to capture and hold the essence of perfect calm. Its surface is carved with symbols that shift and change depending on the viewer's needs for peace. The flame within burns not with ordinary fire, but with condensed serenity, creating light that somehow makes everything it touches seem safer, warmer, and more comfortable than it appeared in ordinary illumination. The village itself exists as a living testament to the power of intentional peacemaking. Every structure seems to have been designed not just for shelter, but for the promotion of rest and tranquility. Cottages curve organically along streets that follow the natural contours of the land, their thatched roofs layered with grasses that continue to grow and flower, creating living crowns that change subtly with the seasons while maintaining their essential character of sheltering warmth. Gardens bloom between houses in carefully planned disorder, allowing flowers and herbs to grow according to their natural inclinations, while somehow creating patterns that please the eye and calm the spirit. Night-blooming jasmine climbs trellises that seem to have been positioned to catch and concentrate its soothing fragrance, while lavender grows in flowing drifts that release their peaceful essence with every evening breeze. Moonflowers open their white petals as Gabriel begins his rounds, creating pools of gentle luminescence that complement his lantern's glow. The streets themselves are works of art disguised as practical surfaces, cobblestone selected not just for durability, but for their ability to create pleasing sounds when walked upon. Gabriel's footsteps produce a gentle rhythm that becomes part of the village's nighttime symphony, joining with the soft murmur of fountains, the whisper of wind through carefully tended trees, and a distant chorus of crickets whose songs seem to have been tuned to promote rather than disturb peaceful sleep. Water features throughout the village serve multiple functions in maintaining its atmosphere of tranquility. Fountains carved from local stone create the sounds of gentle rain and distant waterfalls, while small streams diverted from natural springs flow along channels lined with smooth river rocks, their voices adding to the village's constant whisper of peace. The water itself carries traces of minerals that naturally promote relaxation, and its movement through the village creates negative ions that help purify both air and atmosphere. Gabriel's nightly routine begins at the moment when day's last light fades from the western sky and the first stars appear overhead. This transition time is crucial in the village's daily rhythm, marking the shift from day's activities to night's rest, and Gabriel's presence during this liminal period helps ensure that the change occurs smoothly and completely for all residents. He begins his rounds at the village's eastern gate, a graceful archway overgrown with climbing roses that bloom continuously through some gentle magic that keeps them flowering regardless of season. The gate stands always open. There is no need for barriers in a place where everyone belongs and no one wishes harm, but Gabriel's nightly check ensures that the welcoming energy remains strong and that any weary travelers will feel immediately invited to enter and rest. From the gate, Gabriel follows a spiral path, a route that takes him past every dwelling in the village, while following a gentle spiral that moves gradually inward toward the community's heart. This path was designed by the village's founders to ensure that protective energy flows evenly throughout the settlement, and Gabriel's nightly walk reinforces and renews the spiritual architecture through the simple act of moving through it with focus and tension. At each house, Gabriel pauses to listen, not with his ears alone, but with a deeper sensitivity developed through decades of attending to others' peace. He listens to the quiet sounds that indicate restful sleep, the slow, steady breathing of deep slumber, the contented sighs that escape from dreams of happiness, and the absence of the restless turning that speaks of worried minds unable to find ease. His sensitivity extends far beyond ordinary perception, allowing him to sense the emotional and spiritual climate within each dwelling. He can detect the difference between the sleep of exhaustion and the sleep of genuine rest, between dreams that heal and dreams that trouble, between the peace of resolution and the quiet that masks unaddressed concerns. This ability comes not from supernatural gifts, but from the refined empathy that develops in souls dedicated to caring for others' well-being. When Gabriel senses unease, a child troubled by nightmares, parents worried about tomorrow's challenges, or elderly residents struggling with pain or loneliness, he has an array of gentle remedies developed through years of experience and deep knowledge of peacemaking arts. Sometimes the solution is as simple as adjusting his lantern's position so that its calming light falls more directly on a particular window, creating patterns that naturally guide troubled thoughts toward resolution. For deeper disturbances, Gabriel carries a collection of herbs gathered from the village's peace gardens and blessed through rituals that enhance their natural properties. Dream lavender can be tucked beneath windowsills to encourage restful sleep. Worry rosemary can be scattered on doorsteps to absorb anxiety before it enters homes, and memory mint can be placed where its fragrance will carry gentle reminders of joy and safety to those who need them most. The most powerful tool in Gabriel's collection is his voice, trained through decades of practice to carry tones that naturally promote peace and rest. He can hum melodies that seem to arise from the earth itself, wordless songs that speak directly to the part of the soul that remembers what it feels like to be completely safe. These melodies travel through walls and windows like benevolent spirits, wrapping around troubled hearts and gently guiding them toward calm. Gabriel's humming serves multiple functions in his nightly work. It provides comfort to those who need it, creates a harmonious background that enhances the village's peaceful atmosphere, and serves as a form of moving meditation that keeps the guardian himself centered and connected to his purpose. The melodies change according to the season, the weather, and the specific needs he senses in his community, creating an ever-evolving soundtrack that perfectly matches the village's emotional climate. As Gabriel moves through his rounds, the village itself seems to respond to his presence with grateful recognition. Street lamps dim automatically to a more restful glow as he passes, adjusting their brightness to provide just enough light for safety while avoiding the harsh illumination that can disturb sleep. Night-blooming flowers release their most potent fragrances in his wake, creating a trail of aromatherapy that lingers long after he has moved on to the next street. The village's cats, those natural guardians of nocturnal peace, emerge from their hiding places to accompany Gabriel on portions of his route. These feline allies understand their role in maintaining the community's tranquil atmosphere, moving with extra quietness and position themselves in doorways and beneath windows where their purring can provide additional comfort to restless sleepers. Their presence also serves practical purposes, as cats naturally deter the small disturbances that might otherwise interrupt peaceful rest. Dogs in the village have learned different, but equally important roles in supporting Gabriel's mission. Rather than barking at his familiar presence, they offer gentle tail wags and soft whines of greeting before settling back into watchful rest, their calm behavior modeling the peace that pervades everything in this special place. Some dogs join in briefly, walking alongside in companionable silence before returning to their own duties as guardians of individual households. The most challenging aspect of Gabriel's work involves helping newcomers adjust to the village's unique rhythm and atmosphere. People arrive in various states of exhaustion, anxiety, and spiritual depletion, drawn by dreams or rumors of a place where true rest is possible. These arrivals often struggle initially with the village's deep peace, their systems accustomed to stress, and unable to immediately accept the profound calm that surrounds them. Gabriel recognizes newcomers by their restless energy and the way they move through the village's peaceful atmosphere like stones dropped into still water, creating ripples of disturbance that take time to settle. He pays special attention to these individuals, offering extra doses of his calming presence, and sometimes engaging in gentle conversation designed to help them understand that they are safe and welcome in their new environment. The process of helping newcomers integrate into the village's peaceful rhythm requires patience and deep understanding of how trauma and stress create barriers to rest. Gabriel has learned to read the signs of various forms of exhaustion, physical tiredness, emotional depletion, spiritual emptiness, and the complex combinations that arise from lives lived without adequate peace. Each type of weariness requires different approaches and different healing time frames. Some newcomers need physical comfort first, warm food, soft beds, and the simple security of walls and locks to help them feel protected enough to begin relaxing. Others require emotional healing, gentle conversations that help them process difficult experiences and gradually release the hypervigilance that has kept them surviving but prevented them from thriving. Still others need spiritual restoration, reconnection with whatever sources of meaning and purpose have been lost or damaged through life's challenges. Gabriel provides all these forms of healing through his nightly presence and the resources of the entire village, which seems designed specifically to address human needs for peace and restoration. His rounds serve as both assessment and treatment, allowing him to gauge each newcomer's progress toward integration, while providing consistent, caring presence that helps healing occur naturally over time. The village's long-term residents serve as unconscious models for newcomers, demonstrating through their daily lives what it looks like to live without chronic stress and anxiety. Their children play with the uninhibited joy that comes from genuine security, Their adults work with a focused contentment that arises from knowing one's efforts are valued and meaningful, and their elderly move with a dignity that comes from aging in a community that honors rather than discards its experienced members. Gabriel's rounds also serve the crucial function of maintaining the village's protective atmosphere through the simple but powerful act of consistent, caring attention. His nightly presence creates a web of vigilant love that encompasses every dwelling and every resident, ensuring that the peace they enjoy is not just accidental, but actively maintained through dedicated service. The Guardian carries with him decades of accumulated wisdom about the arts of peacemaking and rest promotion. He has learned which combinations of factors create the most conducive environments for different types of healing, how to read the subtle signs that indicate when someone is ready for deeper levels of peace, and how to adjust his approach to match individual needs and cultural background. As the night deepens and Gabriel's spiral path brings him closer to the village center, he passes landmarks that hold special significance in the community's spiritual geography. The Memory Garden contains plants and sculptures that honor loved ones who have passed on, creating a space where grief can be processed peacefully without overwhelming those who visit. The Children's Grove features playground equipment designed to promote calm play during the day and serves as a gathering place where young voices learn to modulate themselves naturally toward harmony. The meditation circle at the village's exact center provides a focal point for the community's collective intention toward peace. Here, residents gather for evening contemplation, morning gratitude practices, and seasonal celebrations that reinforce their commitment to maintaining the sanctuary of rest in a world that often seems to have forgotten the value of true tranquility. Gabriel's nightly rounds conclude at the meditation circle, where he performs a brief ceremony of gratitude and renewal that strengthens his connection to his calling and ensures that his service continues to flow from genuine love rather than mere duty. He stands in the circle's center, lantern raised toward the stars, and speaks words of thanks for the privilege of serving this community's peace and the opportunity to contribute to something larger than himself. As dawn approaches and the village begins its gentle transition from night's rest to day's activities, Gabriel returns to his own cottage, a small dwelling that perfectly embodies the principles he helps maintain throughout the community. Here he rests, not as one who has completed his work, but as one whose work continues even in sleep through dreams that connect him ever more deeply to the arts of peacemaking and the sacred responsibility of helping others find rest. In his dreams, Gabriel often visits other villages that exist in various states of peace and unrest, learning from their successes and challenges while gathering insights that help him better serve his own community. These nocturnal journeys expand his understanding of how peace functions in different contexts and cultures, making him a more effective guardian and a more compassionate guide for those seeking sanctuary from life storms. The guardian of the sleepy village continues his eternal rounds, walking the spiral path that connects every heart to the peace that lies at the center of all existence, ensuring that in at least one corner of the world, rest remains possible and hope continues to grow in the gentle soil of human caring. Part 9. The Dreaming Tree's Gift. Restful Tales, a bedtime story series. At the heart of a forest where all paths eventually converge, where time flows in spirals rather than straight lines, and every step taken in any direction somehow leads closer to the center, stands a dreaming tree, an ancient oak whose branches reach toward every star, and whose roots touch every sleeping creature's heart. This is no ordinary tree, but a living repository of every peaceful dream ever dreamed, a sanctuary where rest itself comes to rest, and where the weary find the deep restoration that their souls have been seeking without knowing how to name it. The tree defies easy description, existing simultaneously as a physical presence and a spiritual phenomenon. Its trunk is massive beyond measurement, seeming to grow larger the longer one observes it, as if the tree's size adjusts itself to encompass whatever amount of peace and healing its observer requires. The bark appears to be ordinary oak bark from a distance, but closer inspection reveals it be inscribed with countless symbols that shift and change like living text, the accumulated record of every dream that has ever sought shelter within the tree's embrace. The dreaming tree's canopy spreads impossibly wide, its branches forming intricate patterns that seem to mirror the neural networks of sleeping minds and the mathematical structures underlying all dreams. Each leaf holds within its green depths the essence of a single peaceful dream, and the gentle rustle they make in the forest's eternal breeze creates a symphony of whispered lullabies that can be heard not with the ears, but with the soul. The tree's height appears infinite, with its uppermost branches disappearing into clouds that themselves seem to be made of crystallized dreams. The root system extends far beyond what any earthly tree should possess, reaching through dimensions both physical and spiritual to touch the sleeping minds of every dreamer who has ever yearned for true rest. These roots do not draw nutrients from soil alone, but feed on the essence of peace itself, growing stronger with every peaceful dream they nurture and every troubled soul they comfort during the vulnerable hours of sleep. The tree's caretaker is an ageless being known simply as a tender, whose appearance seems to shift subtly depending on what each visitor needs to see in order to feel most comforted. To some, the tender appears as a wise grandmother with silver hair and eyes like starlight, whose very presence evokes memories of being held and comforted during childhood's difficult moments. To others, the tender manifests as a gentle grandfather with weathered hands and a voice like distant thunder, offering the steady strength that comes from weathering life's storms with dignity intact. Sometimes the tender appears as neither male nor female, but as a being whose essence transcends ordinary categories, radiating the pure compassion that exists before it becomes shaped by human concept of gender or relationship. The tender's clothing seems to be woven from materials that exist only in dreams. Fabrics that feel like silk but look like moonlight, colors that have no names in waking language, and patterns that shift to reflect the changing needs of whoever seeks comfort beneath the dreaming tree's branches. The tender's role encompasses far more than simple maintenance of a magical tree. They serve as guide, healer, and guardian for the countless souls who find their way to this sanctuary of rest, offering not just temporary relief, but the deep spiritual restoration that comes from remembering what it feels like to be completely safe and utterly loved. The tender possesses the ability to see into the deepest chambers of the human heart, understanding immediately what each visitor needs most and how best to provide it within the context of the tree's healing environment. The forest surrounding the dreaming tree creates a natural amplification system for the peace that radiates from its ancient presence. Trees of every variety grow in perfect harmony, their different species somehow coordinating their growth patterns to create cathedral-like spaces where sunlight filters through leaves in patterns that naturally promote meditative states. Streams flow through the forest in spiraling paths that mirror the mathematical structures underlying peaceful dreams, their waters carrying trace minerals that promote rest and emotional healing. Night-blooming flowers carpet the forest floor in arrangements that seem random but create specific aromatherapeutic effects designed to ease different types of spiritual distress. Jasmine clusters near the main pathways to welcome newcomers with its anxiety-reducing fragrance, while patches of lavender mark rest stops where visitors can pause to process their emotions before continuing their journey to the tree's base. Dream roses bloom throughout the forest, their petals holding the essence of the most beautiful dreams ever experienced and releasing this essence slowly into the evening air. The forest wildlife participates consciously in maintaining the sanctuary's peaceful atmosphere. Deer move with extra quietness along the pathways, their presence serving as gentle guides for lost souls seeking the tree's comfort. Birds sing only melodies that promote rest and healing, their songs creating a natural sound therapy that helps visitors release tension and open their hearts to receive the tree's gifts. Even the insects coordinate their activities to support rather than disturb the peaceful environment, with fireflies creating soft light displays that guide nighttime visitors safely along the forest paths. Visitors to the dreaming tree arrive through various means, all of which share the common element of deep spiritual need for rest and restoration. Some come through ordinary travel, drawn by dreams or visions that show them the path to the sanctuary. Others arrive through more mystical means, finding themselves at the tree's base after falling asleep in distant places, while yearning for peace beyond their ability to create for themselves. The most profound arrivals occur through what the tender calls soul travel, the journey that occurs when someone's need for rest becomes so intense that their spirit leaves their sleeping body and seeks out the dreaming tree across dimensions of space and consciousness. These visitors often have no conscious memory of their journey, experiencing their time at the tree as an unusually vivid and restorative dream that leaves them feeling mysteriously healed when they wake in their ordinary beds. Each visitor to the dreaming tree brings with them a unique constellation of wounds, fears, hopes, and spiritual hungers. The tender has learned to read these inner landscapes with the expertise of someone who has devoted centuries to understanding the human soul's deepest needs. Some visitors arrive carrying the weight of recent traumas, their hearts raw and their trust shattered by experiences that have taught them to expect harm rather than help. Others come bearing the accumulated exhaustion of lives lived without adequate rest, their spirits worn thin by years of meeting others' needs while neglecting their own. Still others arrive in states of spiritual emptiness, having achieved external success but lost connection to whatever sources of meaning and purpose once nourished their souls. These visitors often struggle to articulate what they need, knowing only that something essential is missing from their lives, and that ordinary pleasures no longer provide the satisfaction they once did. The tender's approach to healing varies according to each visitor's specific needs and capacity for receiving help. Some souls require gentle, gradual introduction to peace, their nervous systems too accustomed to stress to accept sudden tranquility without resistance. For these visitors, the tender provides a series of increasingly restful experiences. First, simple physical comfort in the form of soft grass to lie upon and the tree's protective shade. Then emotional comfort to the tender's patient and non-judgmental presence. And finally, spiritual comfort as the visitor gradually opens to receive the tree's deeper gifts. Other visitors arrive in states of crisis, so acute that they require immediate, intensive healing intervention. For these souls, the tender creates what they call a healing cocoon, a space within the tree's root system where the visitor can rest in complete safety while the tree's accumulated peace works directly on their wounded spirit. These cocoon experiences can last minutes or years depending on the depth of healing required, though time moves differently within the tree's influence, allowing for extensive restoration to occur without disrupting the visitor's ordinary life responsibilities. The dreaming tree itself participates actively in the healing process through mechanisms that blend the mystical with the deeply practical. Its leaves function as living dream catchers, absorbing the nightmares and anxious thoughts that visitors carry with them and transforming the psychic debris into compost that feeds the tree's continued growth. This process allows visitors to literally release their burdens into the tree's care, experiencing profound relief that comes from knowing their pain serves a purpose in nurturing something beautiful and healing. The tree's branches provide customized resting spaces for different types of spiritual needs. Lower branches offer gentle swaying that mimics the motion of being rocked to sleep, perfect for visitors whose wounds trace back to early childhood experiences of inadequate nurturing. Higher branches provide stillness and expansive views of the forest canopy, offering perspective that helps visitors understand their troubles in broader context and find renewed hope for their futures. Some branches grow in spiral configurations that naturally guide visitors into meditative states, while others form natural seats and beds that conform perfectly to each individual's physical needs for comfort. The tree seems to possess unlimited ability to reshape itself according to its visitors' requirements, growing new branches for newcomers while maintaining existing structures for returning guests who have found particular configurations especially healing. The root system offers another dimension of the tree's healing ministry, creating underground chambers where visitors can experience the deepest levels of restoration. These root chambers are womb-like spaces that provide complete security and darkness, allowing traumatized souls to return temporarily to a state of pre-birth peace, where healing can occur without the complications of conscious thought and social expectation. Time spent in the root chambers often produces profound shifts in visitors' fundamental relationship to safety and trust. The tender's daily routine revolves around maintaining the delicate balance between the tree's supernatural healing capabilities and the practical needs of the human souls who seek its comfort. Each morning, though time operates differently in the forest, making morning more quality of energy than a specific hour, the tender walks the forest paths to assess the overnight changes and prepare for new arrivals who may appear throughout the day. This assessment involves reading the subtle signs that indicate how the tree's energy is flowing and what types of healing are currently most needed. The color and intensity of the leaves' glow reveals information about the dreams that have been processed during the night hours, while the patterns of bird song and insect activity provide updates on the forest's overall spiritual climate. Stream flow rates and the behavior of forest animals offer additional data about how effectively the sanctuary is serving its purpose. The tender also maintains the physical aspects of the sanctuary that support its spiritual functions. Pathways must be kept clear not just of debris, but of any energetic blockages that might prevent visitors from reaching the tree when they most need its help. Rest areas throughout the forest require regular attention to ensure they remain comfortable and welcoming, while the various gardens of therapeutic plants need tending to maintain their healing properties. Perhaps most importantly, the tender serves as translator and guide for visitors who struggle to understand what they're experiencing or how to receive the tree's gifts most effectively. Many people arrive at the dreaming tree carrying skepticism or fear that prevents them from accepting the healing that's freely offered. The tender helps these visitors recognize that miracles of restoration are not only possible, but natural consequences of opening the heart to receive love without conditions or limitations. The process of helping visitors receive the tree's gifts often requires a tender to address deep-seated beliefs about worthiness and deserving that create barriers to healing. Many souls have been taught that rest must be earned through suffering or achievement, that peace is a luxury they cannot afford, or that their particular wounds are too severe or shameful to deserve healing attention. The tender works patiently to dissolve these false beliefs, helping visitors understand that the tree's love is unconditional and abundant enough to heal even the deepest spiritual injuries. Some of the most profound healing occurs when visitors learn to participate actively in the tree's ministry by sharing their own gifts and service to other souls seeking restoration. The dreaming tree creates opportunities for this reciprocal healing through its ability to connect visitors across time and space, allowing someone who has received comfort to offer comfort to another soul in need, even if they never meet in ordinary reality. These connections often manifest as shared dreams where one person's healing journey provides inspiration and hope for another's, or as intuitive insights that help visitors understand how their own experiences of suffering and recovery can serve as sources of wisdom and compassion for others facing similar challenges. The tree facilitates these connections through its root network, which links all sleeping minds in a web of mutual support and shared healing. The dreaming tree's most remarkable gift involves its ability to restore visitors' connection to their own capacity for peace and joy. Many souls arrive having forgotten what it feels like to experience genuine contentment. Their emotional systems so accustomed to stress and struggle that they have lost access to their innate sources of serenity and happiness. The tree provides what the tender calls peace inoculation, intensive exposure to states of profound well-being that reawaken dormant neural pathways and restore the visitor's ability to generate their own feelings of safety and contentment. This restoration process occurs gradually, as the tree's accumulated peace gradually penetrates the defensive barriers that protect but also limit traumatized souls. Visitors begin to remember moments from their past when they felt truly happy and secure, often recovering memories that have been buried under layers of subsequent pain and disappointment. As these positive memories resurface and strengthen, they provide foundation stones for building new structures of hope and trust that can withstand future challenges. The tree also specializes in what the tender terms dream repair, the restoration of healthy sleep and positive dream experiences for souls whose rest has been compromised by trauma, anxiety, or depression. Many visitors arrive suffering from chronic insomnia, recurring nightmares, or sleep that provides no actual restoration despite adequate duration. The tree's healing influence gradually repairs these sleep disorders by addressing their spiritual and emotional root causes rather than merely treating symptoms. Visitors often report that their first night sleeping beneath the dreaming tree provides the most restorative sleep they have experienced in years or even decades. They wake feeling not just physically refreshed, but spiritually renewed, carry with them dream memories that serve as ongoing sources of comfort and guidance. These healing dreams often continue for months or years after the initial visit, creating a sustained connection to the tree's healing influence that supports continued recovery and growth. As the evening approaches and the forest settles into its deepest healing rhythms, the tender performs a daily ceremony of gratitude and renewal that strengthens the tree's connection to the cosmic sources of peace and ensures that its healing capabilities continue to flow freely to all who need them. This ceremony acknowledges the tree as a gift to creation itself, a manifestation of the universe's desire to provide comfort and healing to its struggling children. The ritual involves the tender walking slowly around the tree's massive trunk, while singing wordless melodies that harmonize with the whisper of leaves and the distant murmur of forest streams. These songs carry not just the tender's personal gratitude, but the accumulated thankfulness of all souls who have ever found healing beneath the tree's branches, creating a spiral of appreciation that strengthens the tree's healing power and attracts additional peace seekers to its sanctuary. During this evening ceremony, The tree often shares visions with the tender souls throughout the world who are currently in need of the specific types of healing that the tree provides. These visions guide the tender's prayers and intentions, focusing healing energy toward those who need it most urgently while maintaining the tree's availability for whoever might arrive seeking refuge during the night hours ahead. The ceremony concludes as the first stars appear overhead, their light reflecting in the tree's leaves like scattered diamonds on velvet. The tender settles into rest knowing that throughout the night, the dreaming tree will continue its eternal ministry, offering shelter to weary souls and transforming their pain into the compost that feeds new growth and deeper healing. In dreams that come to the tender during these rest periods, visions often appear of a world where every soul has access to the type of deep restoration that the dreaming tree provides, a future where peace is recognized as humanity's birthright rather than a luxury, and where the arts of healing and comfort are valued as highly as the arts of achievement and accumulation. These dreams serve as both inspiration and guidance to the tender's continued service, revealing new ways to extend the tree's healing influence and help more souls discover profound rest that awaits them in the sanctuary where all paths converge and every dream finds its home. The dreaming tree continues its eternal gift of gentle restoration, growing larger and stronger with each soul it heals, its branches reaching ever wider to embrace a world that desperately needs to remember that peace is always possible, that healing is always available, and that in the space between heartbeats, love waits patiently to transform every sorrow into soil for new hope to grow. As this final story draws to its close, an invitation extends to all who have followed these tales of gentle healing and quiet magic, to carry the memory of the dreaming tree into ordinary sleep, knowing that somewhere beyond the boundaries of waking consciousness, its branches continue to offer shelter to every soul brave enough to believe that rest is not just possible, but their natural birthright. In dreams and in the peaceful moments between dreams, the tree's gift continues, an eternal reminder that love is the strongest force in creation, and that healing always, always finds a way.